Later on this hour, right around 3:25. You can join us anytime. Pull up a stool at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. In Indianapolis this morning, we heard from the wide receivers. And so this, if you're a Bills fan, this is the area that I think almost all Bills fans believe is where the Bills should invest that first-round pick. Should they stay at 28, you got to get a wide receiver who's going to be your next Stephon Diggs. Do you move up in the draft if you're Brandon Beane to get a guy that you might like? We heard from some today. We know that the Bills have met with many of them. We also know that one in particular, and this guy isn't really in the Bills universe because he's probably a top 10 pick, but Marvin Harrison Jr. today skipping his media availability. I don't know that that's ever happened with a prospect at the Combine.
Yeah, you would think you would want to make yourself a little more marketable, but on the other hand, Caleb Williams was like, nah, I don't think so. When it came to the medicals, like, what? And maybe this is the NFL stepping over their bounds, but I never thought a player would be like, especially could go number one overall, be like, yeah, here, come have your doctor check me out, I'm fine. Like Caleb Williams saying no to the medicals, and now here's Marvin Harrison Jr. saying, nah, I really don't want to get up in front of the podium. And look, I'm okay with that, actually. I mean, as long as he's interviewing properly with, those teams that have the availability to draft him, which the Bills would not. I've thought about what would it take for Buffalo to jump from 28, say, to 4 or 5 in this draft. It's just too much. I mean, once upon a time, the Browns moved down, and Julio Jones, the Falcons, said, that's our guy, and that actually paid off. That's probably the instance where moving up into the top 10 from way down in the draft worked out for the wide receiver. Now, if I had to say a guy that I continually see getting mocked here, and I'm not ready to say plant my flag because I feel like I'm on an island here. I know there's the wide receiver train out there, and I know the Buffalo Bills could definitely use a wide receiver, but if we're drafting this like a fantasy team danger, I think we all know, like if you have like a list of wide receivers, but they're all kind of equal, but maybe there's that last running back, you're taking that last running back, and then by the time it snakes around, you grab the wide receiver, and I'm just wondering what's the difference between first round wide receiver and end of second round wide receiver for the Buffaloes. I don't think a lot. But if this guy were there at 28, I'm sure they're going to consider Keon Coleman. Like, I just look at his production last year from Florida State, 11 touchdowns. Yeah, that's somebody that can go get it. And to hear him talk today and reference Josh Allen, I'm wondering, would his game actually complement Diggs in the short term, and could he actually develop into that future number one wide receiver for Buffalo?
Yeah, Coleman telling reporters this morning that he had met with the Bills, excited about the potential of being able to learn from a guy like Stephon Diggs. So Coleman taking a meeting with the Bills, another wide receiver that we know took a meeting with the Bills is Troy Franklin from Oregon, who was actually recruited by Joe Brady at LSU. And he's somebody that the Bills will have an interest in and will probably be available for you at 28 if you wanted to go there. And I think you also have Keon Coleman as one of those guys that would be there at 28.
Will Brian Thomas be there? I've seen mocks that will get Brian Thomas. And if I'm talking about Keon Coleman's production, Brian Thomas actually led all receivers with 17 for that team that's coached by Brian Kelly.
Xavier Worthy telling reporters today that he also took in a meeting with the Buffalo Bills, the Texas Longhorn wide receiver. So the Bills are meeting with plenty of wide receivers, and if you're on that wide receiver train, today is euphoria. You're hearing all the right things. You're hearing that the team is meeting with some of the best names that are available, that are out there, that will be available. And now it's just a matter of, do the Bills see the value in these guys when they're on the clock?
Another question I want to ask you, anybody that wants to weigh in, our number is 866-4FAN, 866-4326. I'm basing this off of the assumption that Gabe Davis will go walk out the door. Mm-hmm. I'm going to base this off the assumption of anybody in that price range, I'll put it in free agency. Like, these are commodities, like your Calvin Ridleys or, anybody like a Mike Evans. No, You couldn't afford Gabe Davis. You can't afford those other things. So there will be somebody, I think, that will come in and replace a Trent Sherfield. It'll be somebody that's sitting out there for a while. But as far as the receiver the Bills draft, whether that is round 1, what is round 2, I think it'd be unthinkable, actually, if they skip both those rounds, but I digress. The receiver that the Buffalo Bills get, Danger, whether that's Coleman, whether that's Brian Thomas, whether it's any of these guys, does that guy automatically gets penciled in as the number 2? Because if not, then how is the pecking order? Are you ready to go? It's Diggs and Khalil Shakir, and we're going to let the first-round pick or second-round pick develop at his own pace?
I really think that when you're talking about players that get drafted by the Buffalo Bills this year, you need at least 5 of those guys making an impact day 1.
5?
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah, on either side of the ball. I think you need to get younger. I think you have to get younger. I could certainly see safety being one of those positions. Defensive tackle potentially. And that's for me believing that at 28 that the Bills might go defense rather than go wide receiver.
Or an edge rusher like a Chop Robinson at 28 where automatically he's in the rotation.
Yeah. Special teams guys, sure. I mean, if you're getting a guy, that can contribute on special teams in this year's draft, somebody that you can work in down the road, I'm fine with that as well. But I do think you need contributors. You need to hit on these guys. You can't have any more questions like we have going into this offseason with Kaiir Elam. That was a first-round pick. We shouldn't have any questions about the first-round pick. First-round pick should be a guy immediately contributing.
My theory on that, Danger, do you subscribe to this? I thought the pick was McDuffie, and the Bills kind of got caught short, and they realized, who's the next guy on our board? And that was the same draft, and they moved up slightly to get Elam. I just didn't think they were very smart in that first round. They should have let the draft come to them, and if there isn't anything they like, then it's okay, actually, to move down or completely out of the first round.
Yeah, I think how it all falls to them this year. Hey, look, if these wide receivers, if there's a run on wide receivers like we've seen, and you have a pass rusher that can start day 1 or a defensive tackle with immense size that can complement Ed Oliver's game. Defensive-minded head coach, and they need more help on the defensive side of the ball. Yes, a wide receiver is needed, and they're going to draft a wide receiver. I think that's why we're all excited. But I don't know that they necessarily need to draft a wide receiver in round 1.
The year they drafted Kaiir Elam, we kind of knew going in, okay, they're going to draft a corner. I think that a lot of us were mocking that because Christian Benford wasn't even on the scene. He came later in that draft. Who's going to play opposite to Tre'Davious White? You could do better than Levi Wallace. That was the conversation then. What's going to dictate the conversation? I just got to make the point, but it's an obvious point, but it needs to be made. It's going to be who's coming back. Free agency is going to dictate a lot of this. If you get Daquan Jones back on a short-term deal,
yes,
you don't have to worry about drafting the big space eater along Ed Oliver. If you somehow say, hey, we got Daquan Jones and A.J. Epinesa, 2 thumbs up. You don't have to worry about that. Safety is the one position, Danger, where Poyer and Hyde both coming back, hard for me to imagine. And even if they did, you got to think about the future, but is there somebody in the first round that you could draft, say, that's a safety like Kyle Hamilton? Boom, start him. I don't know. You would have to sell me on that. I'm trying to talk myself into Cooper DeJean. I like him as a player. He makes big plays. He's got a nose for the football. He's really kind of a corner if you listen, but he could play safety. I don't know. That to me seems like I would take a pass at 28, even though I think whoever he goes to would actually help.
Well, this is the cycle, right? We're in the love affair stage right now with these prospects. We're going to hear a lot of names and be told why this player would be great with your favorite team here, and we'll fall head over heels. And Gene, my heart's been broken too many times.
You were Travis Etienne. You were Team Etienne.
Loved me some Etienne.
Would Etienne have gone to Buffalo had not Urban Meyer interfered?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. Last year it was Jack Campbell. Now Jack Campbell as a rookie was productive for Detroit, and I think his best days are still ahead of him.
But I think we got to take credit though. Like it was Jack Campbell, but by the end of the process, we're like, they're going to take a tight end. Now, I had the wrong guy pegged. I thought it was going to be Michael Meyer. He ended up going to the Raiders in the second round. I didn't realize Kincaid. So there's a lot. We may be off there, but we realize, wait a second, that is actually the area of need. So that's what makes us fun, this whole process, that by the end of this, we should be able to kind of give you, within reason here, an idea what the Bills are going to be doing here on draft night.
Well, I want to contribute to the exciting wide receiver talk that's going to lead up into the draft. Everybody's foaming at the mouth. Everybody's got their guy or guys that they believe will be with the Buffalo Bills when the draft is over. This is the person we will immediately fall in love with and assume will step into the wide receiver one role the day that Diggs is no longer a Buffalo Bill. And I'm good with all of it, but I do have one guy that I've allowed myself to fall head over heels for. I'll tell you who it is.
Okay.
Later this hour when we play, I'll drink to that. But I haven't done this in a while.
Wait, you're gonna play?
Head over heels. I'm gonna hear a lot of people call me crazy because the measurables aren't exactly what the measurables are for some of the more highly rated wide receivers in this draft, but I've heard enough where I'm kind of head over heels.
Is it somebody who's more talented than a guy that I was gagaing over last year, an Andre Yoshevich? He went in the 6th round.
Yeah, Yoshevich is going to have himself a nice little career, I think, when it's all said and done. And it's a similar story in that I think Yoshevich last year at this time was riding a Senior Bowl wave. He turned a lot of heads at the Senior Bowl. This player came out of the Senior Bowl as a lot of people believing that he was the best wide receiver.
Okay, you just gave it away. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about my new wide receiver crush. I mean, I don't play Berlin for just anybody. It's been a while. And through this process, I'm preparing myself to have my heart broken. I don't think, I'm playing this out as if the Bills don't take a wide receiver at 28. And if they don't take a wide receiver at 28, then this is the guy I think has to end up in Buffalo.
I don't know if he's there, though, by the time the Bills come back around in the 2nd round.
Yeah, from what I've seen, I've seen him kind of all over the place. I've seen some people grade him as a 2nd round, some as a 3rd. If you really want him, go get him, I guess. But we'll come around to that here in just a few. We'll take a break here and come back with Sal Capaccio. We'll get his thoughts from his time in Indianapolis earlier this week. Everything that Sal took in. And we'll talk a little bit about these prospects and about these holes that need to be filled by the Buffalo Bills here, whether it be in free agency or in the draft. Sal Capaccio from our Odyssey Sports sister station, WGR in Buffalo, our guest next on The Fan.
You're listening to the Sports update.
It's a 1st and 2 for the Amherst this weekend in Belleville tonight. Don Stevens will be by with a call beginning at 7 here on the Fan Rochester. Sabres coming up big last night in Tampa Bay, looking to make it 2 in a row tomorrow. That's Jack Eichel and the Vegas Golden Knights coming to Western New York. Combine continuing today in Indy. Bills GM Brandon Beane, last night speaking with Matty Clapp, says the face-to-face is important.
We've really got a chance to meet some of these young men, and so it's great. We watch tape with them. We ask them about some of their stories, where they transferred from, understand some of the things that maybe come up on tape that we don't understand, or maybe a certain way they were used.
Sal Capaccio, WGR, joining us next here in the Sports Bar. Division III basketball tournament begins this afternoon. St. John Fisher women playing at Rhode Island. That's a 5:30 tip. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
NFL Scouting Combine continues in Indianapolis. WGR's Sal Capaccio was there earlier this week. Sal, this is an event that I'm pretty sure you attend annually. What impressed you about this year's version of the NFL Scouting Combine? How are you, buddy?
Pretty good, guys. Thanks for having me on, as always. It's just always a little bit different how things are run or set up. There was a really big floor, in one room. Like the convention center, the Indiana Convention Center is just super massive. It is 2 street blocks, basically, and just massive, like I said, and it's got rooms and rooms upon rooms. And the one huge room, there's one where it's separated by a curtain. Remember when you were old in gym class growing up and you had like the dividing door, right? And the dividing wall, and they have one side and the other side. That's the way it is. There's Radio Row and all the radio media. And then on the other side of the curtain, bam, it's this, like all the podiums are set up and everybody's there. And it's real super easy access to that. I love that part of it. And then I just love the personalities that come out, a lot of the players that show up and the prospects. Now, I was there earlier in the week mostly for Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott and Bill stuff, so I didn't get a chance to really listen to, all the prospects speak specifically. But I think that, we've at least entered. I think what I like about what's happened here over the last, how many years is it's more encouraged now to be yourself. It's more encouraged to show your personality, where I think that was discouraged years ago, and it was kind of frowned upon. So I think that's been a nice change.
Yeah, Danger and I were just talking. I mean, what are your thoughts here on, well, you have Marvin Harrison not talking to the media today, and then you had Caleb Williams actually, you know what, I'm not going to give any medicals here. We'll do that later. I mean, is that stuff okay now? Like you're going along with not being frowned upon?
I think every team's going to treat it different, but I don't think it matters, to be quite honest with you. What's going to matter is what they see when they turn the tape on and what they get when they get with each prospect in these interviews, these formal interviews that take place. You get 45 formal interviews that take place for 20 minutes each. You can do whatever you want. You can go over film. Now, you can't work them out, right? But you can go over film. You can ask them about off the field, on the field, whatever. You can have as many people in there as you want. It's up to each team. And every team goes about it differently. I don't think any team is going to care that Caleb Williams goes up to a podium or tells everybody, I'm not going to do it here, but I'll do it for you at my pro day. I'll do it for you somewhere when I go to your facility for a workout. Because let's be honest, I mean, like the Bills, for example, aren't going to draft Caleb Williams. There's only a certain amount of teams that it really matters for with him. So, no, I think we used to make a big deal about that stuff. I don't think it's a big deal anymore. The media makes a big deal. I don't think teams care, really, to be honest with you.
Sal, what about Brandon Beane and his time there spent in Indianapolis? Because we know that as much time that they spend talking to prospects, as we heard him mentioning in Gene's update, there's also talk with representation. I mean, the off season here gets underway, the league year gets underway in a couple of weeks, and you're trying to lay the groundwork of what this roster is going to look like. Do you think there are guys, do you have any guys circled in this list of pending free agents for the Buffalo Bills that Beane could be talking to now to bring back?
I think every one of them should be, considered that he would be doing that. I wouldn't have any doubt about it. He said earlier this week, now look, I understand that he's not going to disparage any one of his pending free agents or players, but he said, he doesn't look at the Bills pending free agent list and think of anybody he doesn't want back. He says, man, he wants all of them back if he can. But the reality is it's not going to be able to happen. They have, financials that have to come into play, and there's going to be structure and scheme, and the player's going to have a lot of say in this no matter what. And they're going to wind up getting offers from other teams that the Bills can't match or are unwilling to match. So, yeah, I think that all that stuff is happening now. I think we are probably pretty close, guys, to hearing about some restructures, extensions. We already got one. Connor McGovern, we know, restructured. They cleared some space there. But they have a lot of work to do to get under the cap, and they're going to have to do that. And then once they do, Brandon Beane, I think the biggest thing I took out of Brandon Beane and talking with him and Sean, but especially Brandon and being there this week, I'll be honest with you guys, I think the Bills feel much better about their cap situation this year internally than we do externally, than the fans do, than the media do. We make it out to be like, oh, it's cap hell. They can't do anything. Brandon Beane's like, yeah, you know what? We got some challenges. We'll be okay.
Yeah. I mean, unless he's being, cool hand Joe here and this kind of projecting this image, but it seems like they have a plan here. And Sal, part of that plan, and you were talking about this on your show today, and just to talk about it with our audience, because I'm just fascinated at what the Bills do at the safety position. That you have Brandon Beane kind of pointing out, look, it's rare to have the tandem together for 7 years, and that almost is kind of sort of laying the ground like maybe it's not going to be your number 8 here for the tandem of Poyer and Hyde. So just about Sean McDermott's defense and the idea that what is the likelihood that a rookie could step in right away and contribute, because I don't know if there's a pick that can actually do that. Or would the Bills be better served, Sal, going the free agent route, but maybe not the big ticket items? Because once upon a time, well, I remember Micah Hyde playing Green Bay when Jordan Poyer came over. I didn't know much about Jordan Poyer at that point.
They both signed in 2017, as you remember, with the Bills. That was actually before Brandon Beane was hired. Mm-hmm. So it was with the old regime, Doug Willie, but it was right after Sean McDermott was hired. And now it's been 7 years together, and yes, it's very rare, what Brandon Beane said, and it's right. Both of them came in together. Both of them had 4 years in the league. They were in the same draft together. Micah was a 5th-round pick. Jordan was a 7th-round pick. But look what they've been able to do in their careers now. Pro Bowls, All-Pros, right? I mean, it just speaks volumes to the work those guys put in. But it also gives you a clue into the kind of player I think the Bills think that they can develop and have at that position. And again, they weren't rookies. They were 4-year players. Now, Micah was a starter in Green Bay. Jordan was not a starter. And he did wind up starting that last year in Cleveland. Then he got hurt. But he had actually been on 2 teams. He was released from the Eagles. And he really was only a special teams player for Cleveland. But I went back and looked, guys, at that 2013 Combine that both of them were there. They're less than 200 pounds, both of them. They still are, basically, right around there, a little less. Less than 200 pounds, and they both ran 40s in the 4.5, mid 4.5 range. They're not blazing speed. They don't have all these measurables, but, man, they are super smart. They're instinctual. They play off each other, and that's what the Bills need. So to answer your question about how they attack this, I get the feeling the Bills don't feel that maybe a rookie can just step right in. That's not the spot on Sean McDermott's defense that you can do that. This is a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl. You have a very, very a complex defense on the back end sometimes where the safeties have to disguise coverages. Now, it's pretty simple in scheme, but it's pretty complex in how you want to disguise it, how you want to fool the quarterback, and that's why Micah and Jordan are so good at that. You're going to put a rookie there? I don't know. That's going to be a tough ask. Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott both used the example of a guy his name is Kurt Coleman, if you remember him. Yeah. They both mentioned Kurt Coleman, how Kurt Coleman did not have these huge size, measurable speeds, tallest, fastest, strongest, but man, he just did the job. Had 9 interceptions during their Super Bowl run in Carolina. And I think about him and Micah and Jordan, same thing. Micah and Jordan aren't the Blazers. They're not the tallest. They're not the fastest. They're not the strongest. But they're super, super smart, and they know the defense. They play the defense well. So I think it's more the free agent route. I think it's guys that, they feel fit their scheme and the instinctual smarts and IQ that they're looking for, more than the guys that are going to be maybe at the top end of the draft or command the most money because of the measurables.
Break ties for us here, Sal, because I think Gene and I differ on an outgoing free agent for the Bills and Taylor Rapp, because everything you're saying to me sounds like you would want to bring a guy like that who has a year of experience in this defense and had some moments for the Bills last season. What are your thoughts on Taylor Rapp and if the Bills are able to retain him here for this next season?
I think the Bills wouldn't mind doing that, but I don't think it's someone you have to really go make sure he's a priority, right? I do think he got better as the season went on. I agree with that. Early in the season, he had his struggles. But let's remember, they kind of morphed his role later in the year. Early in the season, he was actually used. Remember that first game at New York? He was using the box a little bit as a run-stuffing safety, right? A nickel safety. That became Jordan Poyer later in the year. Remember, guys, right? Mm-hmm. Jordan Poyer, he did a really nice job, and not just that. He was a dime safety against the pass, but he was more plating in the box when they went 3 safety looks. So I think that, when Taylor Rapp is on the back end, he does have that smart, instinctual, ability to know where he's supposed to be. And it might take a little while in this defense, but I don't think it has to be a super big priority. I'll be quite honest with you. I think Cam Lewis might be more important than Taylor Rapp. And Cam Lewis is going to be in fact, I will say, I think Cam Lewis is more important than Taylor Rapp. He's going to be a pending free agent. Cam Lewis played well last year. Cam Lewis has been in this league 4 years. He's also, by the way, the backup nickel corner to Taron Johnson, and I think he could start at nickel corner for a lot of teams. He's super valuable. He understands the defense. But think about Cam Lewis. He's 5'11". He's not the tallest guy, but when he's on the field, you see him. He makes plays. He's very physical, and he has not been shy about being involved in plays, and he hasn't hurt this team other than a couple of years ago when he was kind of newer to the position when they moved him from corner.
Yeah, Sal Capaccio, WGR, our guest here in the Sports Bar. Sal, we had yesterday Josh Reed on with us, and I asked him the question about Tre'Davious White. And the opinion I had on Tre'Davious White is, boy, I hate the way that last season ended. I look at that cap figure, and this time, let's say mid-season, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's not going to be coming back. But then you think about it, and talking to you and others, could there be a way maybe you redo it? I asked Josh this question, and he had an interesting response, and he thought the answer lies within Kaiir Elam, that, hey, maybe the Bills see something in Kaiir Elam. So take this whatever direction you want to go. The idea that maybe, again, I'm just theorizing here, could the Buffalo Bills be actually going to Trey White's representation saying, hey, love to have you back. We need it at a lower number, though. But the idea that Kaiir Elam is going to get another crack at this we do know. Your thoughts on the whole corner position there, Sal?
Well, I'll take them separately because I think they both have a lot to do with the domino effect on the rest of the group. Look, there's a pretty good debate, in media and fans on what the Bills should do and will do with Tre'Davious White. He is going to count $16.4 million against their salary cap. I think that's a pretty large number for all the things we just said. He's coming off the knee, then the ACL. He's still not even 30 years old yet. And he's going to work hard as heck, right, to get back. That guy, his DNA, his character, his competitiveness, that if there's anyone that's going to work hard enough to get back and be on the field and try to get back to that level, it's Tre'Davious White. And I think the Bills understand that. They know that. They've talked about that. I don't see the Bills moving on from Tre'Davious White simply for what he means to the organization and the fact that they still believe that he can play and will recover from this injury. The question is how quickly that will be. So how do you do it? Well, look, if you release him, because it's a reality, they could do that, they would save $6 million on their salary cap. That's nice, but guys, they'd still pay $10 million for not having Tre'Davious White. It'd be a $10 million cap hit. I think not having him for $10 million is worse than having him for 16. So yes, you can go to him and you can try to do something, but there's one thing they can do. They don't really have to go to him. They can take his base salary of over $8 million and convert it to a signing bonus. You do not need the player's permission to do that. It's already built into the contract. The Bills can do that with a strike of a pen. And then if you want to, there's only 2 years left in the deal. You can add a void year out of there. It's kind of a fake year to spread the money out. That'll lower the number. Now, the risk there is if he never fully gets back, you're paying even more for him again next year and the year after, essentially. He's on your books. But at least it's a way to lower his cap number this year, see where he is, and know that you don't have to have him for $16 million. I think, to me, that's the most likely outcome. But I do think Tre'Davious White is going to be on the Bills for what they feel about him and his ability to come back. Kaiir Elam is a different story. He just has not been able to get on the field that much. When he has, he's made some plays, but I think he's really, if he's not already there, a lot of people would feel he's trending towards, first-round bust territory. He's got maybe one more offseason here to prove that he can get on the field and be a contributor. And I think that the change from John Butler to a new corners coach, Bobby Babich as new defensive coordinator, maybe that breathes new life into him. Maybe there's something they can do. It's not for lack of not wanting to be out there. It's not for lack of athleticism or hard work. It's really, I think, to me, he struggles in zone defense, and that's what the Bills play a lot of. He's a little bit better in man defense. That's the kind of player he is, but they're not going to overhaul the scheme for him. I think that they're going to give. We might be having the same conversation we did last, July, August of, hey, are they going to try to trade him, before final cuts, and maybe a team can see something in him and still on a rookie contract. But here's the other thing, guys. Maybe he actually can, be able to elevate himself to be able to play. And if you can have that, then you'd have 4 quality corners and you sort itself out later.
Sal, the wide receivers spoke this morning in Indianapolis, and we know that there's a train that everybody wants to get on board for the wide receivers in this year's draft. And I'm not necessarily convinced that a wide receiver will be the Bills' pick with their first round pick that they do have a lot of holes to kind of fill on. Well, we'll see what kind of holes they have to fill, but defensively, if there's a pass rusher there or a defensive tackle there, that might be too good to pass up. But there is enough depth and enough talent at wide receiver where it's an inevitability. You know that the Bills are going to take one. So I guess I'm curious as to your thoughts on who you like, who might be available, and who you think the Bills might have in their sights.
Well, first I want to say, let's remember that, I think we lose sight because the combine occurs now. I always try to remind people that even though the combine is now and you have the draft coming up, you have free agency first, right, guys? And we have to get through that. And it could totally change everything. I remember 2019, we were all going, okay, draft a wide receiver, help your young quarterback. Then they go out and sign John Brown and Cole Beasley. And it's like, okay, wait a minute, wide receiver isn't as important anymore. I think we could be looking at the same kind of situation here. I do think the Bills will go shopping at free agency to help out at the position. I don't think Gabe Davis will be back at this point, but I wouldn't completely rule it out 100%. But they're still going to have to make some moves there. I don't think the Bills need a guy who is just going to be a big-bodied, contested catch guy. I think they need someone with dynamic playmaking ability, somebody who can separate. Troy Franklin comes to mind. Brian Thomas is a guy I think they could use right there. So it depends on your flair and your flavor, of course. Would you love to be able to have a Marvin Harrison Jr.? Would you love to be able to have a Malik Neighbors? Of course, but those guys are going to be long gone. So I think you have to kind of play it smart what you want to do, but let's remember, there's a free agency period here. Darnell Mooney, Curtis Samuel, guys like that. Are you going to be able to be in the market to go out and get a veteran who might be able to come in and kind of help you out with some of those areas you want? Deontay Hardy's on the roster. Is he going to still be on the roster? They could, save money by moving on from him if they want to do that. Trent Sherfield's a free agent, but probably only a minimum deal to bring him back. There's a lot of things that have to be sorted out first.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Where would be the number, though? Because if the Bills are going to spend in free agency, Sal, I'd be like, okay, you know what? Talk to Gabe Davis. And, well, that's kind of where I draw the line there. It's like the Gabe Davis line, and whatever that may be, 13, 14, I don't know. Like, smarter people than me may know. So if you're looking at more affordable options, you brought up Darnell Mooney. I don't know if Calvin Ridley falls into that category. Are there any other names that perhaps you can get on the cheap here?
You put the line where at Gabe Davis? I put the line at DJ Chark. That's the Chark Meridian. I think there's a line above. That's the line. You can go above DJ Chark or below DJ Chark.
So are you saying you'd bring Gabe back for less than $13 million?
No, what I'm saying is, well, yeah, I would if you could find a deal, but I think he's going to get more there. So.
Oh, see, I don't know if he'll get more than that, but I don't think the Bills are going to pay him that. I think that's about where he settled in. I mean, remember last year, the two highest guys, Jacoby Myers and Juju, got $11 million a year, and that was what they got paid in free agency. And then you had, I think, DeAndre Hopkins and Odell came in right around there when they signed a little bit later. But I don't know if Gabe's going to break over 12, 13. That's probably the high end for him where he goes. I'd be surprised if he got more than that. But, guys, I don't know if the Bills really – I think if you took a poll – I'll say this. If you took a poll of Bills fans right now and said, would you pay Gabe Davis $11 million a year, I think it'd be overwhelmingly no, don't bring him back. Bills fans do not want to do that. They believe that anything more than like just a few $1 million for Gabe Davis, otherwise they're ready to move on. The inconsistencies, the fact that you need something different there, and I go back and forth on it. I think what Gabe brings off the field, his hard work, his DNA, his character, the fact he's a great run blocker, the fact that he can get down the field, it's a little bit different than the way other guys do it. I wouldn't mind bringing Gabe Davis back, but I don't think the Bills are going to go north of $10, $11 million to do that. So can you get a guy like I said, a Mooney, a Curtis Samuel? How about a Kendrick Bourne coming off an ACL? I know that's a little dicey, but man, Kendrick Bourne, I think, would be a real nice fit for this offense if you think he's healthy for the ACL last year, in New England. We'll see where his health is, obviously in San Francisco before that. There's some interesting names. I do like Calvin Ridley. I don't know, how the Bills feel about that. That's a guy a couple years ago had the gambling suspension. Now, I know he's played a year since then, but there's probably some things that you want to make sure of and being buttoned up before going down that road.
Yeah, Sal, there is one guy that we love here in the sports bar. And look, I know he's going to be out there too.
Watch. When I was sitting at home and there was nothing but silence, this is what came over me. As we're waiting for that, I'll keep you posted.
Come on, OBJ, Sal.
I mean, I'm not interested. Wow, you guys are still interested in Odell Beckham Jr.? He's 31. He's 31 years old.
We're being sarcastic, but last year, I feel like last year at this time, we were
That's all we were talking about.
Kind of talking a lot about OBJ.
Oh my gosh, he's in Dallas. What does this mean?
I mean, he had some impressive moments last year. I think, when he signed on with Baltimore, but I'm not interested in paying what he probably wants. I think the Bills were probably kicking the tires on that. Look, if you could get him at a really cheap deal and maybe he's got a year left to kind of show that he still wants to play and do something that seems like kind of his MO lately, go right ahead. But if you're going to do that, I'd rather spend the money on Gabe Davis, to be quite honest with you.
Non-Bills question for you, Sal, but it is draft related, and we're watching these prospects at the Combine, and we all kind of have a sense that Caleb Williams will be the first overall pick. What do you think happens with Chicago and that first overall pick? Do you think there's any movement here before we get to free agency?
They are trading Justin Fields. There's almost no doubt about it. They're going to draft Caleb Williams first overall. It's a smart move by the Bears. They're going to reset their rookie contract clock on their quarterback. I mean, if you keep Justin Fields around, you're going to have to pay him. He's going into his, third year. You're going to have to pick up he's going into his fourth year, right? How many years? He's been around 2 years?
He's going into his fourth.
Going fourth. So I keep with the fifth year option, you always have to pick it up after the third. So that's coming up now. They got to pick it up by May. So if you do that, what do you do? Either pick up the fifth year option and commit to him, or say you're not, and he's going into, the final year of his rookie deal anyway. And then you have the number one pick. What do you probably surround him with, some weapons, or you could trade the number one pick, but it doesn't make sense. Reset. Caleb Williams seems to be the better prospect anyway. You get him on a rookie deal for 4 years, and then you get draft capital around, from trading Justin Fields on top of the fact you have another first round pick. The question I just have is, where does he go?
You are, I'm a Bears guy, and so my emotions are really torn. I mean, I feel like I'm waffling. I'm going back and forth.
Why?
One day after the other. Because the way that they would be building it if they took Caleb Williams still feels wrong to me, that they don't really have anything around him in terms of protection. And if the Bears are good at anything, it's screwing up quarterback. So I'm nervous.
All right, let me play therapist for you, walk you through this.
Please, thank you.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Isn't that the exact same thing if they keep Justin Fields? What's around him?
You could get a haul. You could trade out of number one, and you could get a lot of first and second round picks over the next 2 years.
Okay, so what you're saying is Justin Fields isn't good enough to do it on his own, so you need to get a whole lot of stuff for him. And you know what? That's not a franchise quarterback. A franchise quarterback, you don't have to do all that stuff. And if you believe Caleb Williams can be that, then you do that. The Bills tried this by trading for Sammy Watkins when they had E.J. Manuel. They tried to surround the quarterback, make everybody else better to help your quarterback out. That's the wrong way to do it to me. The right way to do it is to find the quarterback who's the right guy.
Didn't the Bills kind of do that, though? I mean, Josh, rookie season, we saw flashes and we're like, okay, this could be special, but we really saw him flourish after the line was established. And then they went out and got Diggs, and we just saw an explosion in production.
We also saw it in his second year, though, that he took that jump. And then his third year, he was incredible. I mean, third year was an MVP candidate. Justin Fields has had some nice moments through 3 years, right? But you're not going to put him in the category what Josh Allen became in his third year, right? I would hope not. Right. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that then to me, that's wrong. And again, the bigger point here, though, is the financials of restarting on a rookie quarterback contract to be able to get all those other things you want around Caleb Williams are a lot easier to do because you're not paying him, whereas you have to actually pay Justin Fields in another year then.
Sal Capaccio, our guest here. Last one for me, Sal, and it surrounds this crazy story with Mecole Hardman. Should the Jets file tampering charges or at least nudge the league here to investigate this further? Because to me, that seems a little out of bounds there.
Absolutely, they should investigate. I know Mecole Hardman's not Tom Brady. I get that. But the Dolphins lost a first-round pick for tampering with Tom Brady during the offseason, even before he became a free agent when he was already going to be leaving, but he was under contract. This is a in-the-season guy admitting that he talked with the head coach and the star quarterback and said, come get me, and then they traded for him. And the Jets apparently had no idea about it, didn't give him permission to do it. And on top of that, the leaking the game plan thing is a separate issue, but absolutely it should be investigated that happened.
Sal, what can we expect from you here over the course of the next few days as we get ready for free agency and of course, the draft? We'll talk to you before the end of April, I'm sure. But the Extra Point Show, it's always game day in Buffalo. What are you working on?
Yeah, Matt and I, we were both in Indy, and we did a lot of different interviews with people on It's Always Game Day in Buffalo. Go check it out. I mean, Andrew Siciliano joined us. Kirk Morrison joined us. We had a whole bunch of people from Chicago and from New York Giants who cover the Jets, Travis Wingfield, the Dolphins. Like, we had so many people. So go check all that out. It's always Game Day in Buffalo on the Odyssey Podcast Network. We just had so many different people join us to kind of, go through all the different scenarios and teams and things like that. So check that out. And then I'm still doing my State of the Bills series. I just wrapped up linebackers, posted it last night, reposted it today. All I really have to get through now is I just did defensive tackles yesterday, the day before. Just get through the secondary here and special teams, and we're good to go. And that's all going to be happening in the next half week.
Yeah, a lot of content, Sal. Appreciate all the great work that you're doing. Thanks so much for giving us a few minutes here today.
All right, you got it. Don't be afraid of Caleb Williams. Trade Justin Fields.
I love it. Sal Capaccio joining us in the sports bar. Well, now look, I got a flip flop. I don't like flip flopping. I just said earlier this week, get a haul, trade out of that pick and get a haul. Well, we'll see.
Sal doesn't know. Sometimes he doesn't know that we can be sarcastic here with playing the OBJ soundbite.
You really want OBJ? No, we don't really want OBJ. We don't want to spend $15 million a year for that production. Nah, we'll be good. We'll be fine. Great stuff from Sal, as always. Really appreciate him carving out some time there and, again, giving us a lay of the land there from Indianapolis, even though Sal was back in Buffalo here late in the week, spending earlier this week in Indianapolis covering the Bills, Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, and some of those prospects that are there in attendance. We'll take a break and come back with some takes on tap. I'm going to tell you the wide receiver that I am smitten for.
Okay. A couple things here. One, Caleb Williams. I have a take on Caleb Williams. It's going to confuse you even more. He did something today.
I can't. My emotions I'm all over the place, man.
Well, I don't know if you're going to agree with me or not on this one, but he did something I didn't particularly care for today. I will explain why I don't think that's a good thing. And also, hey, my team is jinxed. We're cursed. No, they're not. That stuff that doesn't exist. However, if you were listening this morning to Maggie and Perloff, well, if you missed it, I'll play it for you. And it's not good if you believe that sort of stuff.
Well, in curses and jinxes and hexes and all that stuff?
Ooh, yeah, there's a higher power here.
Preventing the Buffalo Bills? Okay, yeah, we'll get into that. I'll drink to that. It's coming up next. We have time for your calls as well. You can join us at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
You're listening to WBF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Hockey tonight up north of the border. The Amerks in Belleville. It's the first of two there this weekend. Don Stevens will be by tonight with the call at 7 o'clock. The Sabres coming off an overtime win in Tampa. They look to make it 2 in a row tomorrow night. Old friend Jack Eichel, the Vegas Golden Knights, coming to town. Combine continuing today. Wide receivers at the podium. Bills GM Brandon Beane says there is the need for speed.
We're always looking for that speed, explosiveness at various positions. And again, running back, tight end, receiver, whatever it is. You want guys that can explode without the ball, but you also want rack players, guys that Josh can get the ball in their hands, in space, stuff that Joe Brady can scheme up.
Syracuse basketball at Louisville tomorrow night. The Division III basketball tournament beginning this afternoon. St. John Fisher, the women, playing at Rhode Island at 5:30. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
We welcome you back into the sports bar. Appreciate you checking us out. If you're listening locally at 95.7 FM, AM 950, maybe the free-to-download Odyssey app where the Fan sounds its best. We've also got the stream up for you. You can watch the sports bar, our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, streaming on Twitch at The Fan Rochester as well. I'm Mike Danger. That's Gene Battaglia. It's time for some Takes on Tap.
Yeah, Takes on Tap here. We always invite your feedback. If you got takes, you can call us anytime. 866-4326-866-4FAN. And Danger, about the Chicago Bears and these decisions that they have here at the top. It's something happened today. And look, let me take a step back. It's a common thing you see maybe at camp or in a locker room setting midweek, but maybe it's a press conference setting. Maybe it's just a bunch of cameras around a guy. But the teammate who jumps in and pretends like they're a member of the media and asking questions of their teammate, it's cute. There's a time and place for it. But take, for example, today, wide receiver Brendan Rice at the podium. That's when Caleb Williams jumped in and started asking questions like this is the Chuckle Hut or Yuck Yucks or a Comics Cafe or whatever. The Combine is one long job interview. That's what this is. And just right now, Google Caleb Williams immature. See how he behaved after some losses at USC. If you're a quarterback in the NFL, losses happen. There are a lot of downs in pro sports, and there's a lot of downs in the NFL. Heck, Patrick Mahomes looked terrible on Christmas Day, but he bounced back. Danger, I think you may be right here. Trade the rights to Caleb Williams and get a haul.
I'm Gene Battaglia, and I would like to talk to you about having fun and the dangers of having fun.
Why do you make me sound like the eagle on the Muppets there?
You're Sam the Eagle from the Muppets. This guy is having too much fun at his long job interview, and it needs to stop. He's going to be a professional someday. I don't have a problem with anything that he did. I really do not have a problem with this. And furthermore, I think it's become more and more common, as Sal brought up last hour, for these guys to just be themselves. So if you've got a personality and that's your teammate and you're having some fun, then have a little bit of fun. But you also have to know that when you are being interviewed, that's probably not the time to whip out the charm or the sarcasm. That's probably when you want to get down to business and show them that you can be serious, that you can answer the questions that are being thrown at them, that you can break down film with them and devise a game plan when you need to do that you have the intelligence to do that. So while I don't have an issue with Caleb Williams, the Marvin Harrison thing is a little bit interesting to me. The fact that there's really no explanation given, and, some guys will be late for their media availability because they're getting tested longer. That was never given as an explanation for Marvin Harrison. There really is no explanation as to why he wasn't made available for his media day. And I think, I don't know if teams will be hurt by that because he's such an incredible prospect that it doesn't really matter what he does as far as showing up or sharing anything. He's probably going to be the first wide receiver off the board. And anything that he can do between now and then, you could view as something that could only hurt him. So,
well, there is something that I think could hurt him, and maybe indirectly has something to do with the podium thing today. Say whatever reason, I'd rather go to lunch, I'd rather do this, you'd have an agent say, hey, look, you got to do this. Somebody keep you in line. Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't have an agent. So he's maybe going the Lamar Jackson route. Does that change your opinion in any way, Danger? That it used to be a big thing. Like, not only was it the guy you wanted to draft, but the signability. And that used to be an issue. And, who was it? Was it Joey Bosa? I think there's only been a handful of guys that didn't get into camp in time with the new CBA here. By new, I mean it's 10 years old since this has happened.
No agent is a problem. I think no agent hurts you, but I don't know in this instance that him even not being available for his, I don't know that hurts him. I really don't think that devalues him in any way, or all of a sudden Rome Odunze is going to be the first wide receiver off the board. Maybe a team puts more stock in that. But like Sal said last hour, I think that some teams maybe put more stock in that than other teams do. But ultimately, the guy is a player. He'll be able to.
Okay. What about Kalen Williams not having an agent? Here's why I think that's a big deal, because you need an advocate. You need somebody if there's some false stuff out this time of year, and it is the season of lying. You cannot, like if there is like a story about Caleb Williams, even if it's just some radio guy in Rochester pointing out, you need to stamp that out right away.
Yeah, this is Caleb. I'm reaching out to Rock Nation. Yeah, I need to sign an agent immediately because the guy in Rochester thinks I'm having too much fun at the press conference. I really need to squash this before it gets out of control and hurts my draft stock. Thanks. Get back to me, Jay-Z. Thank you. I don't have a problem with it.
New rule in the sports bar: stop making me laugh. I have some sort of cold. And for anybody, there's one troll who's like, "Oh, you have a fake laugh." Really? Then why can't I breathe sometimes on the show when you make me laugh?
Well, thank you, Gino. I like making people laugh, and I'm glad that I can make you laugh from time to time. A hearty chortle is always welcome here. Actual laughter, always welcome here in the sports bar. No fake laughter. All right, it's time for me to plant my flag, and I know we're still kind of early on in this process. Hell, we're like less than 2 months now away from the draft, and a lot can happen. We know that a lot can happen between now and the end of April in terms of what the Buffalo Bills do at wide receiver. But I think it's a pretty good certainty that they will draft a wide receiver this year in the draft, right? I mean,
okay, narrow it down though. Like, because if they wait until the third day.
I know that fans want them to draft a wide receiver in the first round. I think you and I both believe that while we want that and we think they should do that they might not do that they might find themselves staring down a very good defensive line or pass rushing prospect that you can't say no to, and you wait on wide receiver and you find a guy that maybe provides value in the second or third round. The guy the way I'm viewing it is that, like, is there a wide receiver that the Bills can't leave the draft without? Is there a guy in this year's class that you've zeroed in on, that you have made up your mind? The Bills can't leave the draft without this wide receiver. And for me, that guy is Georgia wideout Ladd McConkey. And let me just share my love affair, because it gained some steam after it was viewed by many as the best wideout in Mobile for the Senior Bowl. My opinion solidified when I heard Mike Renner comparing him on the Mina Kimes podcast. This is a minute of Mike Renner gushing about Ladd McConkey, and I'm just soaking it all in, pal.
I have been saying this for a while now, and it's lofty. I get that it's lofty, but this is who he reminds me of just from a movement skill standpoint. And it's Antonio Brown. They're almost identical from a size perspective. Antonio Brown was actually a little bit shorter, same wingspan, same weight. And just the ability that I see, the thing that really stands out and why I mentioned him in particular is that they both can go from full speed to complete stop just quicker than almost any wide receivers that I've seen at collegiate NFL level. Like that's a skill that wins. And that's how Antonio Brown got open deep, despite running, he ran like a 4.56 at the combine. He was never a blazer, but he could vary his speeds and really threaten corners because he could stop at will. And so you're hip to hip with him. He'd just stop and make you blow by him at any given point in time. And so he was nasty on the outside. And that's what I see with McConkey, is just that ability that, oh, you're with me right now, but as soon as I want to, I can stop, run a dig, change directions, run a comeback, and you can't stick with that. I think Daniel Jeremiah tweeted this out. He said, all these SEC corners look good until they face Ladd McConkey. And it's like, that's just the kind of athlete he is. So everyone's wanting to move him to slot. I don't think so. I think he is an outside wide receiver through and through that can play slot if need be.
All right. So you have that, and immediately my mind goes to, wait a minute. Who did Brandon Beane try to trade for before the Bills landed Diggs?
Oh, got to bring that up.
Yeah, so he comps to AB. All right. He even said it. I agree. It is lofty. But then we get to hear from McConkey today. This is Ladd McConkey today.
I really think that, like, when it comes to, like, competing, I'm going to out-compete you. I'm going to outwork you. I mean, I think I can run routes. I can play on the outside, inside, special teams. I think I'm very versatile and can do a little bit of everything. So I don't know. I mean, obviously the guys in this draft class are ridiculous. We have some great receivers, but when it comes to doing a little bit of everything, I think I can stand up there with all.
You don't think for a second that Sean McDermott doesn't need time alone after hearing Ladd McConkey say what he just said? I know you're going to say, oh, every player is saying that this time of year. Every player is going up to the podium.
Okay, let's acknowledge here one thing, Danger. That's this, is that where the Bills are at, it really doesn't fit. He projects like as the anywhere between pick 33 overall and pick 50 overall, which would mean second rounder, which at pick 28, you'd be reaching for a little bit. But if you wanted to wait to round 2, ain't going to be there.
Maybe, maybe not. But hearing the comp, hearing him talk about his versatility, just all catnip for Beane and McDermott. So, Gino, this is me smitten for a 6'0", 185-pound wide receiver out of Georgia with versatility, confidence, and solid hands for a team working in the intermediate range. Give me Ladd McConkey.
You know what happened?
See also Troy Franklin. I'd also take
okay, yeah, like your crush never happens to Buffalo. Like I thought, Jack Campbell, yes. Sean McDermott will love himself from Jack Campbell, corn-fed Iowa guy. Oh, Detroit took him. You can call us anytime, 866-4326. Brad in Rochester. What's up, Brad?
Yeah, now you throw in Troy Franklin, the guy who actually has production. Lloyd McConkey had how much production when he was at Georgia? If he's an all-world wide receiver, why did he not get thrown to? I looked it up in numbers. He doesn't have any.
Who else do you
Troy
have?
Franklin's the guy to go for.
Who else was he throwing the ball to in Georgia?
Production.
All right, Brad, thanks. Brad, can we have a conversation, or are you just going to steamroll every time I talk? What's going on? Oh, did you lose him?
No, he's still there.
I haven't lost me. I'm listening to you.
Brad, there's a lot of weapons in that Georgia offense. Would you not agree?
I'd absolutely agree with that.
Okay, so I think McConkey's production, when you set that aside and you just look at McConkey when he is on the field and when he is running a route and when he is showing up at the Senior Bowl and doing what he's doing. Look, Franklin, I'm not going to be upset if the Bills take Franklin. I'm just saying the guy that I think fits what Beane and McDermott love is McConkey. That's my guy.
Well, what they're saying is they need someone to be explosive and get down the field, and that's what Franklin does and did.
Yeah, I think McConkey can do the same thing. I mean, he didn't really get the chance to show it at Georgia because he didn't really need to show it at Georgia. He had other guys that were there, other weapons that were that the Bills aren't going to be able to, that aren't available. Or the Bills, they're not going after the tight end. I mean, they don't need another tight end. They got their guy last year.
Yeah, I mean, missed some time last year because of injury, but still, when he was out there, 15.9 yards per catch his senior year. That was the best. So, again, in the Senior Bowl because he was ... a senior.
Yeah.
So you bring him in. I think you could roll the dice and wait. Like, would they have the stomach danger to?
I don't want them to take
Brad,
him at 28.
you can call back anytime.
Yeah. I'm not. And Brad, you understand? Like, if you if we want to have a conversation, we can talk. But let's talk to each other, not over each other. Nobody wants to hear two guys talking over each other, talking at the same time.
You and I have done that a few times. It's not good.
No.
Yeah,
Franklin would be great. Franklin talking today and talking about his love for Joe Brady, a guy that recruited him when he was at LSU. I wouldn't be upset at that either. But I just view what McConkey is, and I think, well, that's exactly what Bean and McDermott feel like they want. And then I don't know that I want them, going wide receiver at 28. Not if a guy like that is available to you in round 2 or round 3.
I think we've come to the conclusion that you can get somebody that can step in and be productive for the Buffalo Bills this season in round 2.
Yeah.
At the wide receiver position.
For sure. And it might not be, that's the guy I like. It might not be that guy, but that's the guy I like. That's the guy that I've planted my flag. That's my offseason crush. My draft crush for the Buffalo Bills. Not in the first round. Don't misunderstand me. Not in the first round. But that's the guy they can't leave Detroit without.
Danger, I know you hate this when somebody says, my team is jinxed. We're cursed. We'll never get it over the top. No, they aren't. Here in the sports bar, we don't believe in that sort of stuff.
No, you are a product of your own decisions. There is no such thing as luck. You create your own luck.
Yeah, is evident by, in our lifetime, most of our lifetime, you saw the Cubs. Actually, well, they're jinxed. They're cursed. No, they won it all. Well, the Red Sox, no, they won it all too. That being said, Maggie and Perloff had a different take this morning. In fact, they invited on Angela, the tarot card reader.
Oh.
Yeah, and Maggie asked the question. She got right to the chase here. Now, this is a minute and a half. What does Angela have to say about our favorite team here in Western New York?
Will the Buffalo Bills ever win the Super Bowl?
Define ever.
In the next 5 years.
Okay, the Buffalo Bills.
Yes.
Poor Bills. Okay.
Thank you. The tarot card reader knows the Bills' history.
Well,
she's from upstate.
I think 50 would have been a better number of years.
I'm afraid I get a disappointing answer for you. This is the Two of Swords. They're still waiting for their time. So I'm getting a no on that in the next
Why
round.
Why does Two of Swords mean that?
Well, to me, I use the two. And this also is them kind of, waiting for things to happen. They could be a little, I know they're trying really hard. They could be a little more proactive somehow. But this is also two is only 20% chance. So that's just kind of how I read it. And very low energy with the Two of Swords cards.
Maggie, you can't be surprised, but you look shy.
I'm
what are you talking
terribly
about?
sorry. Let's ask how the Buffalo Bills can improve. Can we ask that?
I think free agency, but sure. I can't believe the first card that gets drawn. We're 20 seconds into this thing, and the Bills are losers.
Wait, what are you talking about? I think we would have told Angela to walk away if she said the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl. But there's no way that's happening.
Yeah.
They've gone 45 years without winning one. What if all of a sudden the next 5 years they're going to win one?
They were last season's preseason favorite. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I know this sounds strange.
Yeah.
But it seems as though there's a woman that's interfering here. It could be one of the.
I know what's happening. Not Haley.
Hawkeye herself.
It's a black-haired woman.
Oh!
Wait a minute.
Wow.
Okay, where do we begin with this?
Wow.
Is it Brittany we're about? Are we talking about the pop star? What are we talking about, the woman that's interfering?
Well, they both have blackish hair, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Kim Pagula? Who is the woman interfering, according to the tarot card reader? Chris from South Central Kentucky pointing this out, too. The tarot card reader doesn't know what she's talking about.
Is it tarot or tarot?
Is it tarot?
Hey, let's go to a tarot card reading. And then we'll go to Bill Gray's for a great plate.
Stop. You stop.
Tarot.
Tarot.
Tarot. We're going to go get our tarot cards read. Come on, guys. And then we'll go to the Bills game and watch John Ram in the Live Tour. Oh, yeah? Well, I'm going to go up to Buffalo, and I'm going to go get some hot wings and blue cheese. And then after that, I'm going to take my kids to the Bills game.
I don't want to leave you out on a limb like I did for all those years with John Ram. I got to try and nip it in the bud.
How many people would say tarot?
No, it's tarot.
Tarot.
I've always heard it as tarot. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've always heard it as tarot card readings, not tarot card readings.
Tarot. Let's go. Here's the tarot. The card she pulls, the Two of Swords. She's talking about the Sabres, right?
Oh.
The Sabres are losers.
Plot twist.
She's misreading this.
Plot twist. The tarot card reader doesn't know what she's doing. You know how I feel about all this stuff. It's fun and it's entertainment, but if you're somebody who actually puts stock in this, like, this is going to guide my life, like, let's keep the sharp objects away.
It's like the old school person would believe this is, remember the X-Files? The smoking man said the Bills would never win in his lifetime, and then when the smoking man character died, yay, we're winning the Super Bowl. That's what this means.
Yeah. No, I think they have a better chance of winning the Super Bowl and hear me out, if everybody within the organization makes better decisions. That's probably what leads them to a win in the Super Bowl. Just throwing that out there. That's everybody. That's everybody in the organization.
Also, that's part of the scam, too. Yeah, I'm calling it a scam. Like, hey.
You're calling tarot cards a scam?
Or just anybody that's doing this reading stuff. I see a woman. Oh, my goodness. Who could it be?
With black hair. All right. Well, if you're Josh...
Why don't we get the woman from Greece that could connect with the dead or whatever and like have her say, tell us when the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl.
Who is that? Who is that person? What's her name?
Yeah, she's fake too.
Oh.
All of them, honestly.
Yeah. Well, for entertainment purposes, I believe, is what the disclaimer should say.
It should. Yeah.
But there are people out there that are clinging. They need to know. Anytime my kids talk about their astrology signs or any of that stuff, like, I don't want to be angry dad or like squash the things that they love, but they love talking about their signs and compatibility and, I'm a water sign. Oh, these are my traits because this is who I am. I'm a Leo. That means I'm like, okay, you are who you are because of the choices you make. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to tell you something that's a little embarrassing. I was once dating a girl who went to one of these tarot card readers. First, we came back, like she's like, no, the guy you're with, he's not the one. That's when it ended up. Well, thank you. At least we ended that real quick.
Yeah, that ended it, huh?
Yeah, that ended it.
Yeah, I want to say that Sandy had her palm read or her fortune told and maybe had somebody tell her the same thing. But I think, luckily for me, I guess, she ignored that advice.
Luckily, the executive producer doesn't do this sort of stuff.
By the way, while we have a second, and we have time at 866-4326 if you want to join us, 585-866-4FAN. One of our regulars, Peter, on Elon's Twitter, X, got an engagement from the executive producer. She responded.
By an engagement, that doesn't mean what it means. Just responding to something.
She responded.
Yeah.
She replied to something that he put out there, and it was a meme in your direction.
Yeah,
Gino.
that was getting angry yesterday at Ryan Hickey.
Yes,
shocking.
And it was a picture of Angry from the Pixar movie. Which one was that? Inside Out. Remember the Pixar movie Inside Out? You ever watch that one?
Vaguely.
Pretty good. But one of the emotions in Inside Out is anger, and it's voiced by Lewis Black, and he's angry. And you know what I'm talking about, the guy, the red fuzzy-looking guy who has fire shooting out of the top of his head. And Pete just shared that this is Gene Battaglia after no coffee and talking with Ryan Hickey, and then follows it up by saying, Jack is not a real name, which is still a great take. And the executive producer took time out of her busy schedule to respond to Peter with one word, yup. So Pete, being the gentleman that he is, oh my God, the highest honor when the executive producer engages in a tweet. And I'm not going to sit idly by on the sideline. Is that engagement or is that a cry for help from the executive producer?
And then she didn't respond to you, which now that leaves it open.
We don't know.
Thanks, producer.
Nobody knows. So either she's just engaging in some good fun online, or it's a cry for help because Gene gets angry that Jack is not a real name and that nobody should talk about Josh Allen being traded ever for anything. Ever. Ryan Hickey.
Also, it is Jack is not a real name day tomorrow in Buffalo. Just call him John.
Yeah.
John Eichel.
I mean, do I get anything for predicting last night's outcome? I told you, felt like a win.
Look.
They got it. They're back.
Here's the weird thing, because could the Sabres actually improve? Sure, why not? What if they missed out on 1 or 2 points and you go back to the Florida game, you get called for that penalty, the head coach, and that cost them that win?
I mean, look, I'm sure last season you could have gone back to a bunch of games. It's like, if you only would have shown up, right?
Well, but you normally, the coach, you can't say, oh my gosh, he cost us this. You could say a decision backfire, but not your temper cost you.
Yeah, I didn't like that. But sadly, I don't think it's going to mean anything. I think when it's all said and done, they'll do just enough for the rest of this season to run it back with maybe an addition or two coming up next season. And, the hope machine will start up again. And we'll need to be reminded that we need to see it over a long period of time before we invest any sort of excitement or enthusiasm.
Yeah, this time next week, the trade deadline will have already passed.
Not crazy.
I mean, and the Sabres are kind of in this, there's not anything really happening here.
That's right. Let's take a break and come back with more next on The Fan Rochester. Sal was great last hour. If you missed it, we've got that up and on demand for you wherever you get your podcasts. You can just search out the Sports Bar, and that includes Spotify and Apple Podcasts, as well as the free-to-download Odyssey app. And you're welcome to join us at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with update.
Hockey tonight here on the Fan Rochester. It's the first of 2 for the Amerks up in Belleville. Don Stevens will have your call beginning at 7 tonight on the Sports Leader. Sabres win one in overtime in Tampa. Rasmus Dahlin with the game winner. Jack Eichel and the Vegas Golden Knights coming to town tomorrow night. The NFL Combine continuing today. Bills General Manager Brandon Beane speaking with Matty Glab on the importance of meeting these guys face-to-face.
We really got a chance to meet some of these young men, and so it's great. We watch tape with them. We ask them about some of their stories, where they transferred from, understand some of the things that maybe come up on tape that we don't understand, or maybe a certain way they were used.
Syracuse basketball tomorrow night playing at Louisville. The Division III basketball tournament starting today. St. John Fisher women playing at Rhode Island at 5:30. Gene Battaglia, the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Sports Bar today brought to you by the Farmer's Dog. Fresh, human-grade dog food delivered right to your door. Danger and Battaglia back with you on the Fan Rochester. Appreciate you listening at 95.7 FM, AM 950, and the free-to-download Odyssey app. And don't forget about our stream as well. Our YouTube channel, The Fan Rochester. Like and subscribe. Also, you can check out the stream on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. As the Combine continues in Indianapolis, a name that we heard earlier this week and a name that we heard more recently in the last 24 hours because he tore it up in the 40. It's a name that he should or could be available to the Buffalo Bills at 28, and he's the guy that I actually think if he's there, it's going to be real hard for the Bills to pass on him for multiple reasons.
Are we talking about Chop?
We're talking about Chop.
I knew it, yeah.
Chop.
Well, right now in 2024, is Terry Pegula the guy that would say, I want this player? As the story goes, like the Bills had Marshawn Lynch. They had Fred Jackson. And doing the draft show, our station was in its infancy then. I'm like, wait a second, number 9, oh, they took C.J. Spiller? You idiots! Why would you do that? It was because Ralph Wilson, as the story goes, wanted the running back.
Sure.
Great. So I don't know if Terry Pegula is the guy that is going to use the I'm overruling all you card here. But if all things are equal...
Well, it just kind of could fall into place where you've got a guy who went to Penn State who can also rush the passer and is pretty fast, available to you at 28. He might not be there, but if he is there, are you tempted?
Well, let's play this out because where do you see the 8 being on the Buffalo Bills next year? And right now there are 2 guys that you like to come back, but you're not really sure what they're going to get on the market, being A.J. Epinez on the outside. Another guy who doesn't play their position at Chop Robinson, that being Daquan Jones on the inside. If you somehow bring both of those guys back, Danger, then I think you're going to be okay where you don't necessarily have to worry about a rusher in day 1 or day 2.
Mm-hmm.
That, sure, you may not have Leonard Floyd as another name there, but we know Floyd has made it clear he wants to get paid. Maybe you have to wait until June if Leonard Floyd is still sitting out there. There's guys at the back end, I don't know, that come back, like a Shaq Lawson, let's say. As I'm talking this through, even if they do come back, I still could see the Bills making that investment because we can agree on this, right? 2024 will be the last year for Von Miller.
Yeah.
If Von Miller somehow comes back and contributes a little bit, awesome.
Is Chop Robinson today, as a rookie, would he be a better option as a pass rusher than A.J. Epineza heading into his 5th year? That's tough, right?
I can't say yes.
Right.
Nobody could really say yes.
It's tough.
A.J. Epineza is coach's catnip, meaning works hard, look where he started, look to where he was.
Yeah.
But is he...
Continues to improve.
Year out. Like, is it somebody that you could actually rely on? Because I'll tell you about A.J. Epineza, don't kind of recall him making plays in the last 2 months of the season.
Well, right. And you could also... I think the excuse that's built in there is he was never right after that Kansas City game and he was dealing with something, that he wasn't healthy.
That's fair.
But, A.J. Epinesa is playing for his future, so he wants to be out on the field. He's not going to miss time because any games that you miss at that point, you're costing yourself down the road. So I get what he was doing. And prior to that Kansas City game and during that Kansas City game, he was having himself a nice season. He was making plays. He was disruptive. The best we had seen A.J. Epinesa look as a pro. So I guess there is something to making that effort to bringing him back. And I wouldn't say it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to leave in free agency. He has, I get Matt Milano vibes from A.J. Epinesa. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When everybody thought Matt Milano was gonzo, somehow the Bills found a way to bring him back and keep him, and that turned out to be a pretty wise move.
Yeah, that Matt Milano, honestly, in his later years, we saw the best up until the injury. I'll say that in contract number 2.
Yeah, that's such a unknown too, man. I mean, when you're talking corner, what do they do with Trey White? So much of it is not just how does he respond in his recovery from the Achilles, but also what does Kyrie Elam look like with Milano? This injury is kind of shrouded in secrecy. We don't know a lot about it or the recovery of it. It's not I think Brandon Beane even went as far as to describe it as a non-football injury. It's not a typical football injury. So I'm curious as to how Milano looks and what, the thing about Milano is you never know because he never talks. You never hear from the guy. He's just all football all the time. Have a feeling he'll be fine, but we'll see.
Danger, one player that we haven't talked about. We could debate the need for a corner at this position. Hey, if the Bills stand pat with 10 picks, I think one of them should be a corner. You always need a guy. Sometimes, though, the end of if you're going to try to stash them on the practice squad, they'll get picked off. I don't think this guy is going to come to Buffalo because I think he would go up high. Texas Tech, Tyler Owens. So he, right now, favorite to post the fastest 40 at the Combine. But, oh boy, did he say some interesting stuff that people are like, wait a second, what would it like to have this guy here? I'm going to play you this audio here. This is Tyler Owens from Texas Tech.
You guys are discussing that you don't believe in.
Nah, I don't believe in space. What are you talking about? We're related, so I think we're just wrong right now. I don't think there's other planets and stuff like that.
We need subtitles. I know what the clip you're talking about.
He says... And I feel like I had to play it because it's almost hard to believe. He doesn't believe in space. He doesn't believe in other planets. Flat Earth theories have valid points.
That's why guys don't want to talk at the Combine.
Yeah, look, he goes on. I'm real religious, so I think we're alone right now. I don't think there's other planets and stuff like that.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
Sorry, wrong button.
Dude, I would love to. Would you love to share a cold one? Actually, I thought that's where you're going with Tyler. It's here, have a seat. One of your neighborhood Goombas reached out to us today. Yeah, I would love for the Bills to draft this guy and to have him on our show. And wouldn't be talking football at all. We'll be talking about tell me about your thoughts in the world.
Yeah, give me your flat Earth theories. Maybe this is why Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't want to speak at media availability today. Because who else did? Jerry Jeudy was bad, right? Didn't Jerry Jeudy say some stupid stuff too?
I think that might have been, I don't know when it was, but it was, I don't even want to repeat it. It was
just dumb.
Tasteless.
Yeah, just dumb. Okay, well, you've told us everything you need to know just by opening your mouth. And now you've done more damage than good just by showing up.
I think the Bills, if you brought in a Tyler Owens, what did Josh Allen tell us? They have the dinner society during training camp where they talk about things in the world. What would it be like to bring in a rookie like this and have him sit at the dinner society?
As much as I love the dinner society, I love more? Josh Allen's holding workouts somewhere in California with all the wide receivers and Dalton Kincaid.
I don't know if that's happening.
That's what I'd love to hear.
Yeah.
The dinner society is nice. What I'd love to hear is working out with teammates. That's what I would love to hear. Not that that's not happening. I don't know if it's happening, but that would be awesome if we heard that. More so than we all get together and talk about whether or not the Earth is flat or not. Marvin Harrison Jr. did not take part in his media availability. He skipped. And I'm trying to think. I don't know that there's ever been a player who has skipped their media availability at the Combine. And maybe it's something, maybe it's nothing. Maybe it doesn't matter. Teams may not put any stock into that or care. You'll have time with him one-on-one before the draft, probably, if you're interested in him. It's not really of relevance to the Bills. He won't be there when the Bills are picking at 28. But some teams might take exception to the fact that without really any reason, he just skipped out on his media availability. No agent on that one either.
Right.
But a dad who kind of knows the routine. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Well, is this the start of a new trend here? Like, I would think in this day and age, you still want somebody. You don't want to negotiate the contract yourself, right? And to kind of dig into things and void years and everything else.
When you're being drafted, though, you've got the rookie deal. I mean, you don't really have any negotiation that can be done, right? It's like,
fair point.
Rookie, here's your deal, and you will be dealt what you are dealt, and then your second contract is really what you're playing for. That's when you need to have, well, I mean, Lamar kind of bucked that trend, but yeah, that's when you would want to kind of work out with an agent. A couple of safeties hitting the market. Kevin Byard is being released by the Eagles. He was with the Titans for a while there. First team All-Pro twice during his time with Tennessee. Traded for by the Eagles last season and now released. And also Marcus May from New Orleans being released as well. He's a cap casualty. He'll be designated a post-June 1st cut and will open up $7.2 million, just over $7.2 million in cap space for New Orleans. He'll be 31 next week. No bueno.
No bueno. We talked earlier about Sal Capaccio, and a lot of this, what the Bills do in the draft, is contingent on what they do here in free agency. But one thing we kind of can say, can't say 100% certain, but they look into the future of the safety position and the idea that you could spend some draft picks, but with the responsibilities that are needed and the nuances at the position that are needed with Sean McDermott in his defense, it's more likely that the Bills actually go and get some veterans that could compete for if they move on from Poyer and or Micah Hyde. And when we look at the history of the Buffalo Bills, how did the Poyer and Hyde come together? That wasn't Brandon Beane. That was Doug Whaley. Doug Whaley with the vision there to see him sign a Micah Hyde, a fifth rounder, and a Jordan Poyer who really was just kind of playing special teams in Cleveland. And when you're mentioning this player that I've heard of from Philadelphia, and I know there's other safeties that have been released, is there just somebody on some depth chart right now? Because I'd ask Brandon Beane, hey, Doug Whaley ain't better than you. He got it right. This is your opportunity to get the next Poyer.
The other thing that Sal brought up that I almost forgot about, do you remember also, I want to say it was the same year, they brought in Kirk Coleman.
We talked to Kirk Coleman.
Yeah, and I remember liking Kirk Coleman, thinking to myself, all right, he's here because he knows this defense. He probably doesn't have a lot of game left, but at least he can teach these guys the ins and outs of this defense. And to hear both Beane and McDermott kind of bring up Coleman is something that, like, they need somebody like that on the back end. Poyer can be that for whoever it is that they decide to bring in, whether it's through free agency or the draft. Poyer, with 1 year left, can kind of be that veteran that shows the ins and outs. And Coleman, if I remember correctly, didn't see the field. I don't even know. Did he make the team?
I think he did, but he didn't. Was never active.
Right.
I'd have to look that up, but I remember, wow, they're bringing him in? I didn't know he had anything left. That's when you look at Jordan Poyer's cap figure, and you could save money by moving on. You could save money by asking Jordan Poyer to, convert or in the extended and void years or whatever it is. I think that it's likely that you keep Jordan Poyer for that very reason, is that it gives you somebody. Look, we all can kind of recognize that what happened to Micah Hyde this year, that could happen to Jordan Poyer next year. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's over. Micah Hyde, it'd be a stretch for me to see him not only play in Buffalo, but anywhere. He just didn't have anything left. For Jordan Poyer, I like the guy. I like him a lot more than I think what you're saying.
I just think he doesn't have a lot left.
Yeah.
I think he's being held together with paper clips and bubble gum at this point. There's not a ton left that the body has taken punishment. And they asked him to take even more punishment playing up in the box last year. So he was involved in some pretty big hits. And I think Jordan Poyer has been a warrior with the Buffalo Bills. He's had injuries. He's battled through them. He's, left and come back, and you have him for one more year. Use him to be that kind of mentor, that guy that can explain to whoever it is, even if it is a Cam Lewis, which I don't love, by the way, but if it is a Cam Lewis, who's a versatile enough player that he could back up Taron Johnson, or he could play safety if you needed him to. Poyer can be there as kind of like an on-field coach or somebody that is there mentoring, whether it's Lewis or they bring back Rapp, or if they go in a different direction in free agency, bring another safety in to learn that defense, to learn how Sean McDermott likes that defense to be played. It's critical, man. That back end, the Bills don't give up a lot of big plays, and it's always because of those two guys knowing exactly where they need to be and how. Okay, maybe they gave up a big play to Travis Kelce in the playoffs. Maybe that was a big play that I'm kind of like blanking from my memory, but...
Well, actually, that was a cover 3. I think people have kind of identified that being Dane Jackson in that. But
as the guys 13, that are on the back end, guys need to know where they need to be.
You gotta line people up, right?
Got to know where you need to be. It'll be interesting to watch. And for as much as it would be awesome to have a safety like a Kyle Hamilton, a first-round pick of the Baltimore Ravens, who looks like he's going to be a star in this league. I don't know that this draft has anybody like that. I don't think it does. If you are going to draft a safety, it's probably somebody that you're going to have to bring along. And as Sal pointed out, you won't see a ton of them year one, but you're going to, maybe you do, but I think you need somebody, and that's the role that Poyer could fill, somebody that can be that kind of leader, that mentor, explain the ins and outs, and help teach the instinctual part of that game that he's got nailed. His instincts are great. He just doesn't have the step that he used to have.
By bringing up Doug Whaley's name here, I had to kind of double check here, Danger, where he is. Still with the XFL, working for Russ Brandon. And then the article I'm reading, I'm like, oh my gosh, you realize how far the Bills have come.
Oh, Russ Brandon's with the XFL. Well, not the XFL now. What is it? The UFL.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah,
the merged leagues.
Correct. This comment from Whaley in 2016: football is a violent game that I personally don't think humans are supposed to play. Imagine Roger Goodell, you see this?
Yeah.
Like, it's a GM in the league. Like, you really should be playing this here.
Football is a violent game where you're increasingly taking on head trauma, play after play after play, and no doubt doing damage to your body that will affect you later in your life. Sign here. Yeah, that guy's a trip. The UFL, man, I'm starting to see little promos for it.
I don't care.
You have zero appetite?
Zero appetite. I'm not going to hide it.
No.
Every year I'm like, I'm going to try to get into this. And then, no, we have the NBA playoffs. We have the Stanley Cup playoff. We have baseball. We have the Masters. Like, really?
There'll be enough? You don't need that much football in your life, spring, summer?
Oh, who cares?
Even in the summer. Like, if one league wanted to go take June and July, and I always thought the NBA should kind of push the calendar back to go against baseball a little bit more. But at that point, even in the summer, we're looking forward to the NFL. We get to the 4th of July. We're all doing our mock.
Yeah.
By the way, I got a magazine, Danger, for baseball. I was going to read this week. So, as Andy... You read it this weekend.
What's it called?
Lindy's Fantasy Baseball.
Lindy's Fantasy Baseball. Cover to cover this weekend, Gino?
I'm going to try to knock it down.
I
was very happy to open it up and little freelance assignment for Andy Barron's there.
Is this all the data that you need before your big weekend at Blondie's? For the big roto draft?
This is what I want you to do. I want you to have Sandy drive up, and then you fly into New York on your way back from Florida, because I think that's going to be...
Oh, it's that weekend.
It's that weekend, yeah.
This is the weekend, the last weekend of March.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
2 days before the eclipse. I don't know if you heard we have this eclipse thing happening.
Well, the sun is ours. We own the sun in Rochester. We're taking ownership of it. The sun belongs to us.
It's the only place where the eclipse is happening.
Yes, it belongs to us. We are in the path of totality. We own the sun. Happy hour next. We have time for your calls at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326 if you want to pull up a stool and join us here in the Sports Bar on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet cashes. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/Mike and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
I have diabetes. I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I have asthma.
W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
It's the first of two for the Rochester Americans tonight in Belleville, also tomorrow night. Don Stevens has your call beginning at 7 on the sports leader. Sabres get the win in Tampa Bay. Rasmus Dahlin in overtime, the game winner. Jack Eichel and the Vegas Golden Knights coming to town tomorrow. The NFL Combine continuing today. Of course, Bills GM Brandon Beane has the need for speed.
We're always looking for that speed, explosiveness at various positions. And again, running back, tight end, receiver, whatever it is. You want guys that can explode without the ball, but you also want rack players, guys that Josh can get the ball in their hands, in space, stuff that Joe Brady can scheme up.
Just 2 games left in Syracuse's regular season. The Orange tomorrow night playing at Louisville. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
All right, now we're going to talk more Combine. NFL Scouting Combine continues from Indianapolis here in the sports bar, Danger and Battaglia. On the Fan Rochester, we appreciate you checking us out locally, 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app, the video stream up at the Fan Rochester on YouTube and on Twitch. Just in the past few minutes here, a couple of texts coming in the secret text so long.
Is this the neighborhood Goomba?
Nikki G has some words. In true Nikki G fashion. What are you, smoking crack? Tell Gino he's high if he thinks Whaley had anything to do with bringing Hyde and Poyer in. That was all McDermott.
Whaley was the GM. McDermott's not negotiating the contract.
Maybe McDermott, picked the guys that Whaley presented him with. Like, hey, here's who's out there. Here's who we can get. What do you think?
I think that it was still kind of this is my turf, this is your turf. There was something weird going on when McDermott was hired and Whaley was still in this.
The draft was weird.
The draft was weird, and then we kind of knew, oh my gosh, they're going to get rid of it. And somehow the light bulb went out with the Pagulas, like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should go get a GM that can work well with Sean here as well. That's the funny alternate universe thing. What if Whaley never gets fired?
Yeah, I just think that when they hired Sean McDermott, they fell so in love with Sean McDermott that it became his show. And I think it still is. I think there's a higher likelihood that Brandon Beane would lose his job before Sean McDermott would lose his job. I mean, they're married together.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're probably both on the way out. If they're both out, they're both out. But it feels like Beane has less pull with the Pagulas than McDermott does. That it was actually McDermott who pulled all those strings.
Caleb Williams. Oh, do you have another text there?
Well, I'm gonna ride with me on this one, Gino, because we've talked every now and then, and I laugh every time you tell me some of the nicknames of your college friends and your college.
I think the one that kills you is Worm.
Yeah,
Worm.
Every now and then, a memory will pop up on social media. When it happens, usually I duck and cover. I don't want to see what I was like 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
I hate that stuff, especially stupid posts. I'm like, no, I don't.
Well, one came up from one of my buddies that I grew up with back in northern Minnesota, and we were exchanging texts 11 years ago today because the Minnesota State high school hockey tournament was happening. And he was asking, because our team was in the East Grand Forks, was in the tournament. And he's like, you gonna make it? You gonna come to town? You gonna come to the X? And I said, who's going to be there? And he responded with a legendary list of the greatest nicknames I think you will ever find anywhere. These are the kids, these are the S-heads that I grew up with in northern Minnesota. The usual suspects will be there. Vonnie, Bops, Hen Dog, Spoke, Sizz, Bug, Bowie, Gusto, Four Dog, Use, Papa Swamps, Eck, Melly, Mouse, Steins, Rude Dog, Rolo, Crime Dog, Ollie, Lovey, Aches, Little Aches, Shrades, Butch, V, Nunner, Bush, Hearn, Quirk, and G.
Why did you move? Why wouldn't you be hanging out with G? And
I'm telling you, man. But why did I move? Good question.
It's not too late.
Papa Swamps. I'm going to hang out with Rude Dog. Aches. Don't forget about Little Aches, too.
Do you remember half of these people?
I connected some dots, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and sadly, time has passed, and we've lost a few from this list. I know Bops. Some really good memories with Bops. Bops is no longer with us. I'm not sure. I know Shrades is still with us. G is kind of vague. G could be a few different people, but I'm going to say G is still with us as well. So that was one memory that popped up on my timeline that I'm like, oh, this is one that actually makes me smile. Just the biggest collection of a-holes you could ever come up with. There's no worm in there. If there was a worm in there, it would be exquisite. All right, back to the Combine.
I want to play this piece of audio for you, Danger.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb Williams, who you are on record saying...
but after our conversation with Sal today, now I'm a mess again.
Oh my gosh, you are Mr. Waffle.
I'm driving myself crazy.
Yeah,
I'm driving myself crazy. Sal made too many good points, and now I'm like, yeah, Caleb Williams is the guy.
You are cowardly.
I should have listened to when we had last week at this time. Actually, exactly last week at this time when we were talking to David Haw from 670 The Score. I mean, he was laying it out perfectly, and I don't know what made me hear him.
He said, do you want to win a Super Bowl? Okay, then Caleb Williams brings you that promise. Like, this is as good as it gets here with Justin Fields. Well, what we do this time of year, Danger, we dig through things. Oh, my gosh, Caleb Williams didn't talk after this game at USC. Oh, my gosh, Caleb Williams. Blah, blah, blah.
Mitch Trubisky tweeted that he likes teas. Remember that one?
Except you can't use the word.
Hey, I'm not going to say what he actually said, but when he put out that tweet and it was misspelled, the whole thing, everything about it was like, oh, that's just perfect. That's fantastic.
I think now most student athletes would realize, cleanse your social media.
Don't
even do it. Yeah, just stay off of it. Caleb Williams approaching the podium, and before he even has a chance to step up to the microphone, listen to this question. I'm just going to play it. You tell me your thoughts here.
Morning, kid. Caleb, are you afraid to compete? Are you afraid to compete? How do you respond to people say that you're worried to be compared side by side with your peers in medicals, measurements, and workouts? Are you afraid to be measured against those guys one-on-one? Is that why you're not doing things?
No, not doing things. It was a decision by me and my team, my family, and it comes down to that.
That's Dustin Ludke, who I've never heard of. He's a content director for Dynasty Pros.
I just feel like the Combine is like Media Day at Super Bowl, but on steroids. Because you only have two teams at the Super Bowl. And Media Day is a frenzy, and you have global reporters there, and it is a beast all in of itself. This is anybody, right? Like every basement blogger.
It doesn't seem to be much vetting, right? Like you have legit people like Sal Capaccio.
And I know that there are a lot of people that and I didn't say what I just said about bloggers to say that, like, there's a lot of good people doing really, really quality work on the internet and sharing their content, and we all buy into it. But this guy's
not vetted.
This guy, why would you even, why you had to get that in before he even sat down?
This is the part he's getting skewered about, okay? Because I never would have clicked on the video. Came in hot with the first question for Caleb Williams. He spells Williams misspelled, by the way. Not the best answer, but didn't seem overly fazed by being pushed back in his choice not to do any of the Combine.
This guy's acting like Williams is the first player to not participate in all of the Combine activities. Like, it's their choice, man.
The medicals, he's the first to do that.
Okay, but but here's the thing with the medicals. Like, you can get that at any time you want to get that, right? And again, when you're Caleb Williams and you're the presumptive number one overall pick, anything you say or do or share right now could only hurt you. So you have to be ultra careful about what you're putting out there.
Well, and this is reading up on this. It's not like, hey, here's your medical. I'm going to go over to the doctor and great. Okay, share that with it. No. You have to do that with every single team doctor. Potentially 32 appointments you'll have to go answering the same darn questions and over. Okay, so stop.
He's not going to do that with 32 teams because there's only a handful of teams that could actually draft Caleb Williams. But I think what Sal said earlier today, and you brought this up about Caleb Williams kind of having some fun and joking around at his teammates' media availability. I don't think any of it matters. I think it might matter to some teams, but other teams might just brush it off. I think if you need medicals, you can get those medicals. If you want them, you know where to get them. You reach out to them directly. Whatever it is, the combine this year especially just feels like it's a circus, man. It just feels like a giant circus. I don't hate it. I don't hate it because we're talking about football at the beginning of March. I don't hate it because we're learning more about these prospects. I don't hate it because I'm falling head over heels for some of these prospects and where they could land and what could actually happen. But I'm not going to get overly worked up over a guy that skips a drill or doesn't want to share a medical or, in the case of Marvin Harrison Jr., just blows off his media availability altogether. Skipped it. That's something I don't think has ever happened either. Is he going to be punished for it?
I think the whole scene there just looks kind of piggy, right? Here's a player up at the podium, and then hundreds of dudes just ready to ask questions. And
right, and it's all the same. Hey, could you see yourself playing for the Ravens this year?
Did you talk to the Bills? Yes, I met with the Bills.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It means that teams are working, I guess. They're not just there enjoying the gigantic shrimp cocktails. Yeah, that guy's whatever. Yeah, he's afraid to compete.
Oh, right.
He doesn't want to compete.
Yeah.
You're going to question a pro athlete's desire to compete by not sharing his medicals. Yeah, you came in real hot, pal.
It's going to swing you right over to Caleb Williams. Back this out. Now it's Caleb Williams week. And then next week you'll be like, they should keep Fields. You're going to go back and forth and back and forth. Do we get when do we get the Justin Fields trade?
Before free agency.
This weekend, maybe?
Possibly.
I would think that you're Ryan Poles, you're fielding everything. Say, step up. I don't have time to do this. Come back.
More access this week than any, right? So if you have the framework, something in law. Who is it, though?
I know who I'd like to see him go to. Atlanta. Well, I think Atlanta, and that's the chalky pick.
Yeah, I'm afraid betting favorite right now.
I would think. Well, if I was going to actually lay money, I would say it would be the Raiders because I think the Raiders would be dumb enough to overpay.
Never happened. Luke Getsy's the offensive coordinator.
Oh, no.
and he got skewered by Fields this year. Remember that? Remember Fields basically saying, "Yeah, I'm being overcoached." If the coaches would just let me, he basically threw his offensive coordinator, his head coach, under the bus in the middle of the season when things weren't going well.
Fields in Pittsburgh. That's better than what they have.
I still think Pittsburgh, it doesn't feel like the kind of move Pittsburgh would make unless they knew they were getting a deal for Justin Fields. And I don't think they're going to give up on Kenny Pickett. I'm going to hold true on what I thought of Pittsburgh. If they bring in competition, which they keep saying we're going to bring in competition for Kenny Pickett, I think the competition looks more along the lines of Ryan Tannehill than it does Justin Fields.
I think you could get Justin Fields for a third. And if you're Pittsburgh, you could do a lot worse than that.
Atlanta makes a lot of sense. Man, I would actually love to see Justin Fields in Atlanta, to see what he could be with some of the talent on the offensive side of the ball that he has there. That would be a lot of fun.
Just to see the talent on the offensive side of the ball with a real coordinator and a real quarterback.
And that track, a fast track. Oh, yeah, I could see Justin Fields in Atlanta. They're the betting favorite right now. What's it going to take? Are you holding out for a second? Do you think you can get a second? I don't think you can. I think it's a third and maybe something else in this year's, or next year's draft. But yeah, everybody seems to be content now all of a sudden with saying that the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams with the number 1 overall pick. And I know just earlier this week I was saying, build around Fields, get that haul. Sal made some pretty good points. Sal made some pretty good points. He played my therapist there for a little bit. Now I'm on the fence again. I really don't know. I'm just kind of waiting patiently to see. Make a move, Ryan, the pride of Section 5. Make a move. And let's see how it all shakes out. Let's get those dominoes to start to fall here in terms of what the draft looks like at the end of April.
It's not about dominoes. I thought we would have had more, the Bills are renegotiating, have more Bills cap news to this point. And when we talk to Sal, when we talk to others, maybe that's the one thing we learned about the Bills. It's not like, at least they're presenting the image that they're not sweating this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting, right? And Sal made that point that we as fans maybe are viewing the Bills as being more in cap hell than they actually think they are. I mean, they're not in great shape if you compare them to the other teams in the NFL, right? They're second worst, I want to say, in terms of cap.
Correct.
So even though they got a little bit of relief when the cap exploded the way that nobody thought it would, they've still got a lot of work to do. Maybe it makes life a little bit easier for you if you're Brandon Beane. Still a lot of work to do. A couple of safeties about to become free agents being released by their teams. One being Kevin Baird, who's released by the Eagles. You remember him from his time with Tennessee, where he was a two-time first-team All-Pro with the Titans. And the Saints moved on from Marcus May, who's going to be 31 next week. He was with the Jets, second-round pick from 2017 before he was with New Orleans. He'll save, or he'll open up just over $7.2 million in cap space for New Orleans. New Orleans still dealing with the sins of Drew Brees all those years later.
This story just kind of come over. Breaking news.
We have breaking news in the sports bar.
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
Why do this? Missouri Governor Mike Parson has commuted the sentence of Britt Reed. So Britt Reed, the son of Andy Reed, was convicted in a DUI crash, which severely injured a 5-year-old named Ariel Young. Remember this story? The coach pled guilty in September 2022. So he is now a free man, the son of Andy Reed.
How long was he in jail for? Just over a year?
Just over a year. The sentence was 3 years.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, what happened was terrible, but he served his time.
Did he?
I think so.
Did he? No, that 3 years. Like, why would you need the pardon coming in? That's the part.
Okay, so you get the higher ups.
Yeah, that's the part.
Man, I'm starting to wonder what goes on there in Missouri, in Kansas City. You had the shooting at the parade. You got Chiefsaholic lawyer propping him up like he's some sort of deity. And now you've got Andy Reid's kid.
He can't bring him back to the staff, right? Like, he's persona non grata. Like,
I think
sorry, son, you're done.
Stay away from the team. We got a good thing going here. Let me win a couple more, and then we can spend some time together as a family for once. Let's take a break and come back with a round of shots, Gino.
Yeah, so shots in the sports bar. As we haven't talked much about the S's, we can say the word Sabres, as after all, they did get a win last night. The feel-good story in the NBA isn't so feel-good as we have turned the calendar to March. We will tell you about what you can expect in the NBA this week, what you can expect in college basketball. Maybe your lead story in college basketball is in the men's game. This is going to be a historic game coming up Sunday for the women. And also another tidbit from the NFL Combine here we can get to.
Last call is on the way before 6 o'clock as well. We have time for you to call if you want at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
Sports Update.
Month of March beginning tonight for the Rochester Americans as the first of 2 in Belleville. Don Stevens will have your call beginning at 7 here on the Fan Rochester. Sabres looking to make it 2 in a row. Jack Eichel and the Vegas Golden Knights coming to town tomorrow. NFL Combine continuing today. Bills GM Brandon Beane speaking with Matty Glab, and Beane saying the face-to-face is important.
We've really got a chance to meet some of these young men, and so it's great. We watch tape with them. We ask them about some of their stories, where they transferred from, understand some of the things that maybe come up on tape that we don't understand, or maybe a certain way they were used.
Syracuse basketball, 2 games left in the regular season, both on the road, one tomorrow night at Louisville. The Division III basketball tournament beginning this afternoon. In just moments, St. John Fisher, the women, will tip it off at Rhode Island. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
Got a smart speaker at home? Listen to the sports leader, the Fan Rochester at home, by asking it to play 95.7 The Fan.
Should mention, with the Sabres, Eichel's on long-time IR, so he's got a knee injury. He's got some lower body injury.
Oh, really? It didn't even...
Which is good.
Yeah.
Because I would not want to see him rip our hearts out this weekend.
He was on the ice today.
Is he skating?
Yeah, he's skating with the team. So.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if they made him active yet or not. I feel like when he's healthy, maybe that's what he needed. Maybe that's the motivation he needed to get healthy is, I get to go back to Buffalo? Yeah, let me go there and absolutely pee in their Cheerios.
Yeah, they're not putting a timetable on it. 44 points in 42 games this year for Jack Eichel. Well, prior to last night's overtime win at Tampa Bay, Sabres head coach Don Granato fined $25,000 by the NHL for unprofessional conduct directed at the officials. For what it's worth, Sheldon Keefe also got the same fine. Sabres respond with a gritty 3-2 overtime win. Rasmus Dahlin with the game winner. Dahlin joining Phil Housley as the only 2 Sabre defensemen ever. They have back-to-back 15-goal seasons. And as we mentioned, Vegas coming to town tomorrow night.
Yeah, the Dahlin goal was nice. And it was a gritty win. I mean, look, they're not what they were, but they're still really good. I could argue that they have the best goaltender in the world, and he was on the ice. I mean, I can't remember who was saying that to us, that, now the Sabres aren't sneaking up on anybody. And so you're going to get the best of the teams that you're going up against, including their best goaltender.
The Thompson goal, little soft on that. That was a power play. It was just going haywire, and Thompson said, screw it.
But I feel like what made that goal happen was, I think it was Skinner at the same time was just crossing across Vasilevsky, and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, it was, I know it's cliche, but boys, get pucks to the net, get bodies to the net, just get the puck in deep, do what you got to do. They get the win. And my prediction is they'll do just enough down the stretch here to make us believe that next season will be next season. It'll always be next season.
Great.
We always have next season to look forward to.
Fantastic. The Amerks, as we mentioned, playing tonight at Belleville. The Nighthawks are playing on the road on Sunday.
They got to get a win. What's going on?
Last time was December they actually won a game.
What's going on? Let's go, boys.
The feel-good story, the NBA, the New York Knicks, that's faded away, in part because of injury, but whatever. New York went 14-2 in January, and they followed up by going 4-8 in February. New York playing at Cleveland on Sunday night. There are 9 games in the NBA tonight. A doubleheader on ESPN has the Celtics hosting Dallas at 7:30, followed by Milwaukee and Chicago. Looking ahead to the weekend, if you want to make plans, games on ABC. Denver and the Lakers on Saturday. Sunday afternoon has the Sixers and Mavs, followed by Golden State at Boston.
Called that one, too, last night. Said Golden State by double digits.
Yes.
Felt like a win. Some winners last night. Daddy's eating steak this weekend. Well, I'm boning ribeye.
But you're being a good Catholic, unlike me.
Not tonight.
Not tonight.
Not tonight. I don't know. I'm on a heater as a Catholic this year. Fridays, no meat. I know that's like a rule, and fish fries are a big deal in our town.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the last time I actually adhered to that. Maybe when I was middle school, when I was in Catholic school. I always forget. I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't even realize it. I haven't though. What are we, week 3?
Yeah. Now you have how many more Fridays? 4 more Fridays.
Something like that.
Yeah, you're gonna make it through.
Yeah.
It'll be good. Sunday afternoon, we're going to have a record in a sport in terms of ticket prices. The get-in price for Iowa for Caitlin Clark's final home game right now is at $306 a ticket. Number 6 Iowa hosting number 2 Ohio State. It's a 1 o'clock tip on Fox.
I have a prediction. I predict Caitlin Clark will beat Pete Maravich's all-time scoring record for college basketball.
She's 17 points away?
18, 17, something like that.
Yeah.
That's my prediction. I think she's going to break the record.
Yeah, there will be national television on Sunday.
You come to the sports bar for bold predictions. You want bold predictions? I got one for you. She's going to be the record holder.
If you missed it, Clark announcing instead of coming back for a potential year 5, she's going to enter the WNBA draft following.
Why would she do that? There's so much money to be made if she stays another year in Iowa.
She didn't collect a dime from the NIL account in Iowa. She left it for her teammates.
Really?
Yep.
So she's banking the money that she gets from endorsements?
Right. Yeah. Like you're just doing it on yourself. So it's nothing's coming directly from Iowa. So as long as those people, and I wouldn't think, why would you want to leave? Like you would follow her to her next job.
Right. No, we can't have her endorsing our product. She plays for Indiana. Ugh. Yeah, I think Middle America will eat that up.
I think they'll be just fine.
Yep.
Finally, we brought this up earlier. Texas Tech defensive back Tyler Owens, one of the many at the Combine this week. He gave a press conference unlike any other, though I can guarantee, quote, I don't believe in space.
Oh.
I'm real religious, so I think we're alone right now. I don't think there's other planets and other stuff like that. Owens adding that he believes that there are valid points to the flat Earth theory.
I don't believe in space. What do you believe in when you look up? What is that?
It's just a giant ceiling. We're in a box or whatever.
Is that what it is?
I
I don't believe in space. I mean, saying that the Earth is flat, all right, fine. But then just let me double down and say, I don't believe in space. What does that mean? What do you mean you don't believe in space?
You ever encountered somebody like this, a flat earther?
I haven't.
I have.
Oh, story time with Uncle Gino.
Yeah, like the guy's name. He was a jock on CMF named Bob Dates, and he also believed there were people on the inside of the earth, too.
Oh, that there are people living.
Yeah, I couldn't even begin to explain what his theories were, but he had different views.
He was on CMF?
He was on CMF, no.
Yeah, okay.
This is like back in the day when...
Yeah. How many mushrooms do you have to take before you go on that station to start spouting off that there are people living in the core of our Earth?
Well, yeah, we're, still flat Earth. This is the days of Christopher Columbus.
That's funny. Well, I don't know. I mean, Tyler just made a lot of GM's jobs a little bit easier, I think. I mean, he might be the most talented prospect in the world, but if I hear somebody say that, I'm immediately going, well, maybe somebody else can deal with you. We'll have somebody else. You can be somebody else's problem.
Yeah, that we want him on the sports bar, right? If the Bills end up with Tyler Owens.
Oh, we have to.
My gosh.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk any football. Be like, just tell me your views on the world here.
He's good too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could be the fastest guy in the combine.
Yeah. I don't believe in. Maybe he doesn't believe in space because space could slow him down. I don't know. Flat earthers.
Or he's just saying that and knowing that I'm going to get the attention here, and I hope that's not it.
But you get the point as to why, like, some of these guys don't want to speak, or some of these guys, like Marvin Harrison Jr., just completely don't show up for their media availability. The combine is tricky, man. It can cost you, if you say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, don't perform the right way, millions of dollars at stake. Lots of pressure on these guys. I love that they're just like flinging the football around inside the hotel, or the convention center. Like you just see quarterback prospects in the hallway, just throwing the football. It brings me back to hotel hockey, right?
Yeah.
Did Kyle ever play hotel hockey?
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah.
Shinny.
Of course.
Yeah.
Some clarity here on this story about Britt Reed, the son of Andy Reed. So his sentence, he was to serve time until October 31st, 2025. Today, the governor of Missouri commuted that. The remainder of the sentence can be served as a house arrest.
Okay. Yeah, I think probably being on the inside for a year would scare me straight.
I don't think I would want to do one overnight there.
No,
thank you.
The decisions that I've made have led me here. Let me make sure I never make those decisions ever again. I would think. You would hope.
Yeah, do you think the Super Bowl's on in the Clank there? I'm sure. And do you think Britt is hearing about it from his fellow inmates? Probably.
Yeah, he's pretty famous, I would imagine.
Yeah, they don't like famous inmates.
I think he'd be the belle of the ball on the inside.
Yeah.
Maybe. Get me out of here. Yeah, I want no part of that. We get to last call next in the sports bar. You can pull up a stool and join us at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. 7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Last call in the sports bar. It was a fun week covering the NFL Combine. Every day we had somebody giving us something from Indianapolis.
This comes over right now, almost on cue, Danger, because we're talking about Justin Fields, where he may end up. Oh, look at this. A report from the USA Today. They're reporting that there are 3 teams that have expressed some level of interest in the Bears quarterback. Okay, so that makes it sound like there would be a market for this. I don't think it's any surprise here. Well, actually, one team is a surprise. I'll tell you. The Atlanta Falcons, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Las Vegas Raiders.
The Raiders doesn't make any sense to me. Justin Fields essentially threw Luke Getsy under the bus last year when he was the OC for Chicago. He's now the OC with the Raiders. So I don't think the two of them see eye to eye on how the offense should run. Just throwing that out there. The flip side of that coin is if you're Mark Davis, you have Luke Getsy. Hey, you know how to work with a guy like Justin Fields. You can bring in we can bring in Justin Fields, and we'll have our quarterback, and you've worked with him, which would be hell for Justin Fields if he feels the way we think he feels about Luke Getsy.
Now, it goes back to my point I made earlier. Of those teams, which one would offer Chicago the most? It's the Raiders, right?
Probably the Raiders.
Yeah, the Steelers would not offer it. If you got a third, great. Atlanta, I know some people are like, oh, trade the number 8 over. Atlanta's not giving Chicago the number 8 overall pick. That's not happening.
I don't want them to do a deal with Pittsburgh just because of how badly Pittsburgh fleeced Chicago for Chase Claypool. That was a black eye for Ryan Poles. He took a beating. Gave up a second-round pick.
That's embarrassing.
That ended up being
really embarrassing.
That ended up being the 33rd overall pick in the draft.
With Joey Porter Jr., right?
Joey Porter Jr.
Yeah. Wow.
And Chase Claypool did nothing and has done nothing. Chase Claypool is...
He's in Miami now.
And he's done nothing there.
Yeah. The Bears are like, get out.
Yeah. What a waste. And a terrible deal for the Bears. Great deal for Pittsburgh. I don't want to do a deal with Pittsburgh. I'm traumatized. Last time Ryan Poles, they got the best of Ryan Poles. Unless Ryan Poles goes back to, hey, you owe me one. Let's get a deal done where there's fair value on both sides. I want to see Atlanta. I think that would be fun for Fields. If that's where he ends up, that would be worth watching, worth paying attention to. Him on that track with those weapons, that would be a lot of fun. He looks like he belongs with the Atlanta Falcons. He also looks like he could belong with the Vegas Raiders, but I don't know which direction are they going. I would imagine Fields doesn't have a say in where he's going to be traded to, but it would make a lot of sense for the Raiders to bring Justin Fields in, given that you just hired the offensive coordinator that has been working with Fields all this time in Chicago.
Well, it's interesting that Atlanta's name is here. Maybe it's just because they're doing their due diligence, but I thought maybe at number 8, if they want McCarthy, if they'd like him he should be there, but they could potentially move up till draft night. That's why I thought, is Atlanta really real here? Or the thought that, hey, let's just bring him in. The other name that is going to be out there soon, Russell Wilson. Who would you rather have if you're the Steelers or the Falcons or any other of these teams that might be looking at, rather than go with the draft, go with the veteran route? Would it be Russell Wilson trying to spark something, or would it be Justin Fields? I mean, to me, the answer is easy. It's Justin Fields.
Russell Wilson wants to start. So I don't think Pittsburgh makes sense because he would have to compete.
No, you couldn't. For a guy that has that cachet, you couldn't bring in Russell Wilson to compete.
Correct.
So he would only go somewhere. As a big difference being traded and free agent too. Like Russell Wilson's going to get cut here at some point. Right?
He is, yeah. He's played his last down in Denver, and even Sean Payton maybe didn't even realize it, but he essentially said, we want our next quarterback. He said it earlier this week, and by using the word next, he's just shown he's already moved off of. By benching him when you still had a chance at making the postseason, you told the world what you think of Russell Wilson. He's gone. But I don't see him in Pittsburgh either. No, I'm going to stick with it, man. Ryan Tannehill competes with Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett is starting week 1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're so stubborn.
That's not good, though.
They're so stubborn.
That's not good.
They're not going to admit that Pickett might not be the guy.
They should. Because there's other components. If you just had the slightest upgrade, and I would think that Justin Fields would be the slightest upgrade, and you can get him on the cheap. By cheap, I mean a 3rd-round pick. Voila, you're back in the playoffs, and then who knows what can happen.
Do you think we get a deal this weekend?
We should. Like, if you're Chicago and you're sold on Caleb Williams, you want to do this before Russ hits the street, right?
My problem is that, and I said
or
this
Cousins hit the street.
I said this earlier to Sal, and you've heard me say it. They screw it up. They always screw it up. They've never gotten it right. And even if this guy is the next Andrew Luck or the next Peyton Manning or the next insert franchise quarterback here, in Chicago, he will die. It will not work. It never does. We've never had a 4,000-yard passer in the history of this franchise.
Now, danger, in a roundabout way, like, we don't believe in curses or hexes or anything else like that. It's not like the ground you step on, all of a sudden there's some force field that you instantly become a bad quarterback. Like, if you draft Caleb Williams and look at the Bills' timeline, maybe you spend some money this offseason on the offensive line. You don't need to go get the skill players right away, because guess what? You're not going to win this year. It doesn't matter. It's all about skill development. So this year, protect him, let him take his lumps. Then next year, you kind of build, and then year number 3, look out, rookie deal, and then you have all this cap room. It's pretty simple what the Bears should do. You have flip-flopped.
It would be exciting.
You're Mr. Waffle.
I'm having a problem. Yeah. I'm having a rough week. I really am. The combine is just playing with my emotions. It really is. And you're not helping either, pal. By sharing the Fields 3 teams. Now I want a deal. Now, let's just get it over with. Let's get a deal done. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Send them wherever. Send them away for a box of envelopes.
I still have the video of you the night when the Bears traded. They traded up, right?
Oh, God.
You were just like, I look over like, wow, you got your quarterback. Good for you.
Trubisky.
No, not Trubisky. That night. Oh, that night we're together. My phone was dead. I'm talking about Fields.
You've been with me for both of these failed quarterbacks. Both of them. And it's been terrible. Terrible. I wasn't excited about Fields because I know, what did I just say? They screw it up. Did they do anything for this guy? No. They screwed it up. Watch, he'll get traded to Atlanta and he'll light it up. He'll light up the NFC South. Yeah, gross. If Caleb Williams doesn't want to go to Chicago, I don't blame him if he actually said that. I don't blame him for not wanting to go play at quarterback purgatory. You're looking for the video.
I am.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in here. Gosh, what year did he get drafted?
That was fresh out of the pandemic, so we're talking 2021 maybe?
Maybe I don't have it.
That's okay. If I remember correctly, it wasn't a great moment. I just remember kind of like slouching in my chair.
You were not happy at all.
They moved up to get. Plus, it was just a desperate move by a desperate GM who knew he was going to lose his job. Nagy, and you had Pace and Nagy and just everything. This team, they'll find a way to screw it up. I want to be optimistic. I can't be optimistic. I need to see it. I need to see competence first. We're going to trade Justin Fields for a 4th-round pick and a box of envelopes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who will turn that 4th-round pick into, the next.
I had forgotten about the Joey Porter result there.
Oh,
oh my gosh.
It hurts. None of it feels good. And Sal, yeoman's work playing my therapist for a little bit earlier this afternoon, explaining to me why the Bears need to take Caleb Williams. He was great, as always. If you missed Sal, you can catch that in the free-to-download Odyssey app or wherever you get your shows. You search out the Sports Bar, you will find us. That includes YouTube. That includes Twitch. We have a YouTube channel you can like and subscribe to. Love your comments. Don't forget to hit that little notifications bell too, and you'll always know when the sports bar is going live, which is every afternoon from 3 to 6.
Monday, we will have a combine recap as it goes through the weekend. A guy who was out there, Dan Fates, will be joining us, and I will continue my new behavior here, which I know you don't like, Mike Danger. You like when I get all riled up and angry.
I'm worried about Met fans who listen to the sports bar who maybe aren't getting the kind of coverage that they're used to getting.
Everything's fine. Everything's going to be fine. We will give you everything, all the news and information about the Mets and baseball.
Okay.
And when Dan Fates joins us, his Atlanta Braves, they are certainly the class of the NL East, and he will talk about it, and I will just listen, and I will not get upset.
Will you not hang up the phone on our guest?
I will not hang up the phone.
Okay. That's a step.
I will not call them Mr. Mouth or anything like that.
That's a step in the right direction. This I can get behind. Catalana doesn't believe you. He thinks that it's just a matter of time.
I think you don't believe me either, which I don't understand. We have this trust. Why wouldn't you think that this year, because there'll be a losing streak and there'll be a winning streak and everything will be fine. I'm just trying to become a better person.
Okay.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Believe it when I see it. Fates joins us Monday afternoon, 4:25. We'll get a combine recap from Dan Fates at 13 Wham Sports. Amherst hockey tonight. They're in Belleville, 7 o'clock. Don Stevens will have the call. We have the JR Sport Brief on the way next.
Oh, and then Fisher Lacrosse tomorrow, 2 o'clock.
We're lacrosse season.
Yeah, buddy. St. Lawrence.
Let's
go. Join me tomorrow here on The Fan.
Great stuff. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll be back Monday afternoon starting at 3. 95.7 FM, AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It's that time again.